This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, saying that officially, welcome to our MLOps Specialization program, the course demo. So let's get started. So I'm a trainer for this particular program. So I would like to just quickly unmute my camera. So for a few seconds, a quick intro. That's it. Then we will unmute. So hey folks, this is Sharad Kumar. I'm a founder and CEO of Cyton Technologies, and I'm a trainer for this MLOps Specialization program. I mean, so we are the experts out there in the internet, obviously. Like personally, I have trained more than 5,000 plus working professionals and help them in upgrading their skills in AI, landing jobs. So I have done a lot of courses and programs of webinars. You can learn more about us in our website, cytontech.com. So that's it. So you can learn more about it. So without wasting much of your very valuable time, so let's get started with the program. Okay. So I'm going to turn off my camera. Otherwise, you'll be having my camera towards the left side. Okay. So let's get started. So why we are here today? Simple question, right? So you are here to understand. So you believe that. So you're going to spend your valuable 2 hours of time here, believing that you're going to learn something into ML and AI, or how to productionize your AI to the production. I mean, how to productionize your AI. So I'm going to fulfill that. So but please make sure that you stay till end of this particular program, because I do have a solid reasons why you should not leave this meeting, because I'm going to show you how your future is going to look like for the next 10 to 15 years. I'm not talking about next 5 years. Okay. So and then you can able to enjoy the live demo that we have arranged on one of our cloud platforms. So how does a complete end to end ML pipelines will work for productionizing any kind of AI, whether it is Gen AI, large language models, doesn't matter actually, right? Yeah. So then comes, you can able to download the free ebooks. Let's say if you stay till end of this particular program. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. So let's get started. I don't see that you will be hearing a beeping sound anymore, Bharat. The beeping sound is done. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so before that, let me just try to understand my audience in a much better way. Okay, so obviously we do have a lovely audience today. I know that which location, which part of the world that you've been joining from, but let's try to understand who you are really about. So please do use your chat window. Let me just try to understand. If you're a student, you can just say you're a student. Or if you're a working professional, if you're a data scientist, if you're an ML engineer, if you are a software developer, software tester, please go ahead and describe yourself in a chat. Why you need to describe? Simple, because I can understand my audience, so I can mentally prepare my content in my brain so I can deliver it properly for you guys. That's it. Simple. So go ahead, please try to describe who you are so I can see the why the messages are pouring in. We have Abhishek. He says he's a data engineer. Sonu Kumar is a data specialist. He says Akshay says program manager, 14 years of experience in analyst. Mona Lisa says Vishnu says is a working professional, is a DevOps. Harish says is a DevOps engineer. Abhishar says he's a software developer. Vigneshwar says he's a data scientist. That's awesome. Ravi, we have a system engineer, data and architect. Sujit says obviously, and we have Yogi says blockchain developer. That's awesome. Shubham, we have DevOps engineers. Mayank, DevOps engineer. Heyman, DevOps. So we do have collection of DevOps, data scientist. Yeah. So computer vision engineer, Lakshay. Hey, Lakshay, thanks for joining. That's awesome. We do have a good varieties of audience today. You know that. So let's get started. Okay. Okay. Let's get started with the program now. Okay. So here we go. So what are the highlights of this particular program? We will be revolving around, I mean, for this entire 2 hours, 2 hours we'll be revolving around all these three different topics. Just keep it in the mind. So what is really MLOps is all about, and what it takes to master MLOps. I'm talking about how you become a specialist in MLOps, that you can able to rule the world of MLOps, right? Then comes, how does a career opportunity like in MLOps? Okay, so let's make this session more interactive. Here we go. The first slide. Okay, obviously this is the first slide. Any session that we conduct, we start with this beautiful slide because we are talking about AI. Okay, I want you folks to observe this particular picture for the next 10 seconds. That's it. Much. But try to describe what is this picture is about. So you know what is this picture is about, but try to describe what you find in this particular picture. You can try to use your chat window. Go ahead and describe it. So I can see, I can observe some things, right? So what you observe from this particular picture. So what do you think this is, right? What do you think this is, right? What do you think this is? Like, go ahead and try to describe what this picture is about. Okay, let's see who can describe this in a chat window. So we have Vigneshwar says is a pet park. Good description. That's really, I appreciate Vigneshwar. Thank you so much for that. So obviously you can see it's a pets. There are pets. Obviously you can recognize and say it's a pets park. Obviously, please go ahead and try to describe. So what else you can able to recognize from this particular picture? Okay, so obviously you can see there are a lot of trees outside. This is a park. We know that we have a lot of trees here, and we have a lot of pets, obviously, right? So we can see we can see there's a lot of dogs here, right? So again, Bharat says the dog show. That's awesome. Okay, Harish says generated on AI. Okay, so we're not going for that. Harish says, is this a AI generated image? Probably not, but I mean to something else actually, right? Okay, someone says people's enjoying a summer at a park. Okay, Tejaswini says we can find more white dogs. That's an awesome coding, right? Okay, I want you to think in a different way right now. Okay, stop thinking and what this picture is about. But my question is a bit different. Okay, I would say that the question is, how do you know this is a picture of a park, right? I mean, let's say you are saying that this is a picture of a park, or you might say this is the picture of a dog, right? How do you know this is a picture of a dog? So why it couldn't be a cat, or maybe why it couldn't be a cow or a giraffe or lion or tiger? So how do you know this is a picture of picture of a dog? And how do you know this is a picture of a man? And how do you know this is a picture of a woman? Who taught it you, right? How do you know this knowledge about, right? So okay, let's talk about what we are today talking about. AI, right? Artificial intelligence, a fancy word that we use. You know that we are a biological machines, and we are the best examples of what we are talking about, an artificial intelligence. So human beings are trying to invent, replicate the human beings, right? So what that's where we are heading towards, right? So trying to create a terminators. You know that Elon Musk has released its a bot in a couple of days ago, right? We are talking about inventing an AI, right? So we are the best examples, right? So but let's try to understand how you could able to recognize today there's a picture of a dog, there's a picture of a man, and there's a picture of a woman. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so let's try to understand in a much a different way. Let's say there's a picture of a baby. You know that this baby is a hardly, I would say, he or she might be a less than 1 year old, right? So I'm going to take a same exact picture and I'm going to display the same exact picture to this baby. Do you think a person, I mean, this baby could able to recognize that's a picture of a park, that's a picture of a dog? Probably not, right? So barely a newborn baby, which is less than 1 year old, could able to recognize his mother and father. But apart from that, the baby doesn't know anything else, right? But what happens if I go ahead and display the same exact picture to the grown-up kid? Maybe a kid might be is in a play school, maybe in a first grade, second grade, right? So do you think a baby could able to recognize the? I mean, this grown-up child could able to recognize the picture? Probably yes, right? So let's try to understand the human growth cycle here. So we are the biological machines. We born with an empty brain. So we started evolving. I mean, we started learning things from our parents because our parents are the first teachers. Then we go to the school. We started learning things. We started recognizing friends. We make friends, and we started learning things like physics, chemistry, biology, blah blah blah. That's how we go, right? And in each and every stage, you eventually get better, right? And again, in some stage, like, I mean, let's consider this into the entire growth cycle of a human being. We exponentially keep learning things, right? The learning never ends, and finally we expire. That's not a topic for today, but till we die, we started learning things, we started evolving things, right? Learning much different things. So today, what we are trying to do, the way we could able to learn the data and way we could able to make a decisions, because you could able to make a decision for your future, you can able to forecast what's going to happen in the future, right? So because you made your decision, spend your valuable time with me today on this Wednesday to decide, believing that you're going to gain some insightful informations into MLOps, right? Yeah, so something like that. But today what human beings are trying to do, the way we could able to learn a data and we could able to make a decisions and predictions for a future, we want to ask this dumb machines to do the same exact things, right? I mean, yes, hardly this machines could able to understand zeros and ones, but apart from that, a machine doesn't know anything else, right? But let's consider that we want to teach the same exact things, the same exact data to these machines, and we want these machines to make decisions and predictions behalf of us, right? So consider that as a human beings, you consume a data in many different ways, isn't it? Let's try to analyze some ways how you consume a data. Currently, like, I mean, you consume a data through visuals. I mean, currently you're seeing my screen. You do understand what's information is being displayed in this particular screen, right? You could able to consume a data through your ears, right? The sound. You could able to consume a data through your nose, right? I mean, you can smell the favorite dish. You can able to smell a biryani. You know that's a biryani, right? Maybe you could be more matured enough to differentiate the different varieties of biryani. Who knows? I mean, I'm just kidding, but yeah, that's a form of how you consume a data. You consume a data through sense. If someone touch the things, by touching things you can also consume, I mean, you can also come to the conclusion what kind of object it is, right? So similarly, the machine could able to consume a data in many different ways. Yes. So consider that we'll talk about a very simplest form of a data. Let's say we have a CSV file, for example, right? So let's say we have a CSV document, which is a tabular format of a data. So what is this data is about? Let's consider that this data is a 3 years old data. I mean, this data has around 30,000 data points, 30,000 rows in that particular CSV file. Pretty much simple. So this is a data of an electricity. So what do you mean by electricity? Let's say I put in some sensors in your home. Currently, I mean, I collect the data about your electricity consumption. How much the electricity is being consumed by your electronic appliances. It can be a geyser, it can be a washing machine, a fridge, anything that you do have. So let's say I collected a 3 years of old data. So my goal is pretty much simple. I want to take this data. I want to teach this data to this machines. It can be a server in a cloud. It can be your own PC. So what we call it as machine learning. So we take this data, we started teaching this data to a machine. So a machine, what happens, it will try to understand a pattern from it. It will try to understand a pattern, how much electricity you consume during a spring, maybe in a winter, maybe in a summer, right? It creates, at the end of the day, it will create something called a machine learning model. So what is this machine learning model? Which can be a final end product. So we are talking about various different kind of machine learning models. We are talking about large language models today, generative AI models today. It can be any kind of a model, right? So this ML model is going to be a part of final end product, but this is not a final end product. That's the problem. So now, once you have this model, right, then you can able to ask this model to make a decisions to predict. So maybe I want to do a simple forecasting. Let's say, for example, I want to forecast for the next 6 months what will be my electricity bills. So what is the first month bill going to look like? What is the second month bill is going to look like? What is 6 months bill is going to look like? So it can able to make a decision, predictions behalf of you. So consider that in a similar fashion. So maybe I don't want to have some tabular data. So I'm going to teach a difference between cat and a dog. So I'm going to take a bunch of pictures of cats and bunch of pictures of dogs. I'm going to teach the difference between a cat and a dog. Okay. So my machine is going to understand the difference between a cat and a dog. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a camera in front of my device. Then I'm going to put a cat. So let's consume this is a cat, right? So I'm going to put a cat in front of my camera. My machine is going to predict there is a cat which is standing in front of your camera, right? So what we call it as computer vision. Other than that, we are talking about today large language models, which is NLP is what we're talking about, natural language processing, the advanced version of it, what we're talking about, large language models, chat GPT, a text to image conversion, generative AI models today, right? Obviously we are all aware about that, but what makes this AI into production is the question. Okay, so to understand that further, okay, let's get into this particular slide. Let's try to understand what is the minimal requirements. So I'm talking about a bare minimal requirements for creating a typical machine learning workflow. We're not talking about a complete end-to-end automation yet, but I'm talking about a bare minimal requirements. Okay, so as we discussing, like I mean, so human beings, we consume a data in various different fashion, right? I mean, we consume data through our nose. We can smell biryani. We can able to consume the data through visuals, right? Through pictures. So similarly, a machine can consume a data in many different types. Your data can be the form of a picture, JPG. Then it can be the format of a document like CSV file, a JSON document, a text document, and there is more other formats that I'm talking about, right? So once we have a raw data that is coming from your customer, so what is the next step in a workflow? So we do something called data preparation. So what is this data preparation? So data preparation is similar to what we do in a everyday in a kitchen. So I mean, if you are a, I mean, if you would like to cook food, right? If you are a chef, if you can able to cook your favorite recipe of a food, so what do you do? The step number one, we go to a market, right? So we go to a market, we buy some vegetables, right? Vegetables are any ingredients, the masalas that you need. Then you come back, then you start cleaning these vegetables, you remove unnecessary stuff, then you put masalas and ingredients, and you start preparing your favorite recipe, right? That's how your favorite recipe will be born. I mean, the food will be born. That's what exactly we do in a data preparation. See what happens, the real time data that is coming from your customers, that comes with a lot of garbage, lot of missing values, what we call it as outliers. So we will be having someone called data engineers, data scientists, someone who does this data preparation. So what they will be doing, they'll be taking a data, cleaning it and preparing it and transforming it. Okay. So once we are done with that, then comes an experimentation step. So what do you mean by experiment? Data science, what we are talking about today, data science is an experiment. So what happens here, the goal is all about taking a data and teaching a data to a machine. Obviously we do understand that, but you cannot produce the best quality model in a one single shot. There are more trial and errors. Okay. So what do we do in a first step here? We take an IDs like Jupyter notebooks, or you might have about the VS code, right? The favorite ID of mine, obviously. So we use these IDs like Jupyter notebooks or VS code. This is where your data scientist, he will be started a script, a Python script. So why we need a code here? Obviously, the goal is pretty much simple. We want to take the data and we want to teach this machine. But how do you go to mention where is your data is, from which location your data is coming from? What kind of a machine that you're going to use in order to train your ML model? Whether you're going to use your computer, whether you're going to use a CPU in a cloud, whether you're going to use a GPU in a cloud, how does it know? That's why your data scientist will write a Python code, or any different kind of a programming languages here. So once he has the script ready, by executing this script, let's say consider that here we are picking a CPU based machine. So let's say we are using a CPU based machine to start training the data that we have. So then, as I mentioned, a data scientist will do more than one experiment, will come in order to come up with the best ML model. Consider that he might be producing a multiple versions of a model here, version 1, version 2, version 3, blah blah blah. Okay, good. So once now you have a various different versions of a model, not just one. You have various different versions. So how are you going to manage the different versions of models that you have produced? Simple. This is where what we call it as model registries comes into the picture. So model registries are dedicated tools that we do have today in the industry, that you can able to use it for versioning your ML models. So to name one tool, I would say ML Flow, which is a way famous tool that's in the market that you should know actually. So we use tools like ML Flow or something on AWS, something on Azure, something on GCP, that you could able to use it to register your ML model. So then comes the next step. We are talking about deployment. So consider that today, if you want to deploy your ML model, every organization, they follow different strategies in deploying your ML models to production. So maybe I want to deploy your ML model to the real-time endpoint in a cloud. I want to deploy it to a virtual machine. I want to deploy it to a batch prediction. I want to Dockerize my model. I want to deploy it to a Docker platform. That can be another option. I want to deploy it to the Kubernetes infrastructure. That can be another option. I want to deploy it to mobile phones, to IoT devices. That can be another option. So each and every organization, they follow different strategies for that. So consider that in this example, let's say I'm Dockerizing my model and I'm deploying it on a Docker host, for example. So once the model is deployed to the production, then comes your front end developers, right? Obviously. So your front end developers, they create a client application. So maybe a web app, for example, or maybe a beautiful Android app that you could able to use it to invoke your ML model, right? So this is a typical workflow. So the bare minimal requirements of a minimal ML workflow would look like. So we do definitely understand what is machine learning is all about, right? So it's all about study of an algorithm or a mathematical model. It's all about teaching data to complex mathematical models that you do have. Once the models understand, so we can able to ask this models to make a predictions and decisions, right? So that's all what about machine learning. So and again, in order to build what we call it as a model, right? So our data scientist uses various different programming languages. He might use Python, he might use R. Today you can also use JavaScript or C++ or Go or Java, even that is possible, right? So we do all understand what does data science is, what goes into the process of building a model. We take a data, we start teaching a data to a machine. Good. But the question is unanswered still. So what is MLOps? What's the role of MLOps here? We are getting started with an actual session now. Let's talk about what is MLOps right now. So before you understanding what is MLOps, let's try to understand the reality here. Are you in a right time to learn MLOps? Is this a right time to come to the market? Is this a right time to looking for a job? Will it help me to get into for the next 10 to 15 years? That could be your question, right? This data is going to answer you. So this is a data that we captured from AWS AI Conclave, which happened in 2023 in Bangalore. So what experts in AWS said. So let's say if we go back, let's do a time travel now. Are you interested? Okay. So I'm just kidding. Let's take a look into the last decade. I'm talking about last 10 years ago. So let's try to understand what every organization is doing at that particular time. So I'm talking about last 10 years ago. Every organization had a huge pile of data in their organization, but they are doing nothing with that data. That's the time they started hiring someone called data scientist and data engineer, so who can able to build a model. So let's try to understand carefully here. So the focus for every organization for the last 10 years just to build a model only. Productionization is not happening in the last 10 years ago. You can ask a question, so why didn't ChatGPT came to the market last 10 years ago? Because it just came to the market in year 2022. So they are in the process of building a model, they're not productionizing. So, and if we talk about today, I'm talking about almost in 2023 to 2024, today almost 53% of organizations who have this POCs, the models, they started productionization. And for an average, it takes 9 months to do that. And by end of 2024, I mean, we are already in an end. You will see that already 75% of organizations, they will be started shifting. I mean, they will be started shifting, not shifted. They will be started shifting their ML models to production. I mean, the productionization starts happening in the year of 2023 and 2024 already. Okay, that's good. It's a good data, right? What it's for you? Because the question is simple. Let's say we have a good data scientist outside in the market who can able to build a model, but how are you going to productionize this model? So what makes your AI to be deployed in a production? That's where the MLOps comes into the picture, basically. So let's get started. Let's try to understand what is MLOps is all about. So MLOps, as a name represents, machine learning operations. So MLOps is a set of practice for collaboration and communication between the different stakeholders that you have in your organization in order to, which are responsible for deploying your ML models to production. It's all about collaboration, communication between a different stakeholders. Let's say we are talking about data scientists, operational professionals, but we not only we have this professionals, we do have data engineers working along in your team, data analyst, we do have a data scientist, we do have ML engineers, we have MLOps engineers, what we call it as operational professionals. A collaboration and communication between them is what exactly we are talking about MLOps. So basically, by applying these MLOps practices, right, so an organization can able to increase the quality and they can able to simplify the management process of how you build, train, evaluate and deploy your ML model to production. So putting it in a simple layman terms, MLOps is all about building an automation. So MLOps is all about building an automation to deliver your ML models to production, or delivering your deep learning models to the large scale production environment. So what do you mean by deep learning models? We are talking about large language models, Gen AI models, right? Which are all deep learning models, right? Okay, saying that MLOps is all about automation. That's correct. But let's try to understand. Let's try to understand in a high level view, right? MLOps motivation in a high level view, right? So as I mentioned, MLOps as a discipline that sits intersection between various different domains. It's an intersection between a data engineering, a DevOps, and machine learning. So the collaboration and communication between them. So what we call it as MLOps, machine learning operations. So let's say this intersection of practices, when they are coming together, it really drives a value in how we build, deliver, and manage your machine learning models. So obviously, what is actually required for any organization to implement these MLOps practices? So when we have people's technology and process coming together, then only you can able to implement a complete automation to deliver your AI to the production. That's what exactly what it takes. That now let's try to understand some of the challenges. Can we? Okay, good. So what do you mean by challenges here? So let's try to understand one thing. So in the process of creating and managing a machine learning workflows, we will be running into different challenges. So we know that the ML model building involves multiple steps. Like for example, data preparation step, model training step, and model deployment steps. So those are the common steps that we do have in the process of building an ML model. But not only we have these steps, there are a lot really good to stitching the things together. So what do you mean by stitching things together? So let's say we want our data preparation step to talk to a model training step, and we want our model training step has to talk to our model deployment step. So for an example, let's try to understand one by one. Okay, so let's see what we do traditionally in a data preparation step. So in your data preparation step, you might contain one to many tasks like taking a raw data from your customers and splitting this data into, let's say, training data, test data, evaluation data. You split the data into train, test, evolve, for example. So you split the data. That's what exactly we do in a data preparation step. So what do you do in a model training step? In a model training step, you might have some additional steps inside. Like, for example, your model, whether you're doing a single model training or you might be running some different experiments like hyperparameter tuning jobs. So I'm talking about experiments. As I mentioned, data science is an experiment. You cannot produce the best quality ML model in one single shot. You do multiple experiments to come up with the best version. So, right? So that's what exactly we do in a model training step. And let's talk about model deployment. See, when we talk about model deployment, you might have only one step in a workflow, correct? Or it could have a multiple steps underneath it. For example, maybe you're trying to deploy your ML models into multiple environments. Maybe you want to deploy your ML models to a staging environment. Maybe you want to deploy your ML model to a production environment, and you probably you might need to have a multiple different controls underneath it. Okay, what I'm talking about that. So let's say if you want to deploy your ML model, consider that currently you have your version 1 of your ML model that is ready, you want to deploy it. So what we do, we don't directly go ahead and deploy your ML model to production. No, that's not how it's going to work. So consider that initially you will be deploying your ML model to a stage called staging environment. Okay, so consider that you initially deploy your version 1 of your ML model to a staging environment. And this staging environment is not accessible to your customers. It's only for your internal team. Maybe you have a data scientist, a senior data scientist, someone who want to review the model in a production. So because you cannot deploy a model to production, you cannot do a testings over there. So that's why you deploy your ML model to a staging environment, and your data scientist will do a thorough testing over there. And if they are completely satisfied with the results that model is producing, then you go ahead and deploy the same version 1 of that model to the production. So once the model is deployed to the production, this is where it will land it to your actual users. So now your final end users, they could start using the ML model that is deployed to the production. That's how it's going to work. But there's one more catch here. So you don't want to automatically deploy your models to the staging environment and to the production environment. So probably you need some additional control over there. So maybe you need what we call it as a approval process. So if you want to deploy your ML model to a staging environment as well as a production environment, so maybe you want to approve this model to be deployed to the staging. So maybe your data scientist, someone who is responsible, go ahead and checks if the model is good, and he go ahead and clicks on a button called approval to deploy your ML model to production. So that's how it's going to work, right? What I'm trying to say here, so there are a lot of different steps, lot of different dependencies has to work together to ultimately build this and build out something that provides an iteration across the life cycle, like for example, and also to provide an end-to-end traceability. So when I'm talking about traceability, it's all about monitoring the complete infrastructure that you do have for your automation, and also to monitor your ML models that is deployed to the production, basically, right? So these steps can be complicated and challenging to be implemented. Okay, that's good. Let's talk about another term that is used in an organization. Okay, so there is a word that you might be really familiar about, DevOps. Are you? We do have a lot of DevOps engineers here, and probably uh, people who are not coming from a DevOps background, maybe you are a data scientist, so maybe some people might really think, so DevOps and MLOps, they are exactly same. If you're thinking like that, probably not. DevOps and MLOps, they are completely different, but we do have some common things here. So obviously the challenges that we do have in productionizing machine learning models, we have some common things comparing with DevOps. For example, in DevOps, there are common practices that we follow, like CI/CD practices that we follow in DevOps, source and version controlling practices that we follow in DevOps. They are also common in MLOps also. So actually, lot of times this CI/CD tools that we are talking about, they are not necessarily built for machine learning separately. They are traditionally built for a software delivery. So in reality, what might happen, folks, you might use a different combinations of tools and integration. Sometimes there might be a purpose built tool that you use for data preparation, a purpose built tool for model training and deployment. So all of this, can be complicated and challenging to stitch things together. And more complicated than this, there is no golden pipeline that you can follow. So make my words, note my words here. There is no golden pipeline that you can follow. So what do you mean by there is no golden pipeline that you can follow? See, consider that today you folks are coming from various different domains. So most of the peoples, you can able to see that in your organization. So your organization requirements can be different always. Not every organization might be using a same exact cloud like AWS or Azure or GCP. Maybe your organization might be using AWS or Azure or GCP. Even though you're using AWS, you might be using a different tools than other organizations in AWS. Or you might be using a combination of cloud and open source tools, like you might be using a Docker, Kubernetes, MLflow, Kubeflow, Jenkins, etc. Right? So your organization structure is different, right? The tools that you want to use can be different. So what is going to be so much common here? The steps and core concepts that I recommend is going to remain across the complete machine learning lifecycle across the globe in this world. Okay. Okay, that's good. So it's time to discuss some story. I'm going to mention an interesting story to understand this complete the MLOps process in a much more easier way. Let's do one thing. Let's go to the year 2020. Okay, let's get into the time machine. Let's go to the 2020. So what is happening in a 2020? In 2020, there is a data scientist. So he's building a ML model for a data owners. Okay. So consider that he's building an ML model to a data owners. Basically, the kind of a problem that he is solving, this model is going to helpful for predicting how much tickets they're going to sell for a movie, how much revenue they're going to make, basically, right? So consider that this data scientist in a year 2020, let's say he didn't implemented any kind of MLOps practices. So he assured a particular client this model is going to perfectly work fine for the next 3 years. He deployed a model manually. Everything is done manually. And as the data scientist assured this model is going to work for next 3 years, right? But this model actually failed in next couple of months itself. Let's say I would say in next 4 months itself, this model got failed. What could be the possible reason? Let's try to analyze the situation. Okay, so let's get started. So what could be the possible reason this model got failed? You know what happened in 2020? No, that's the time the world has been hit by COVID. So you know that once the COVID has been hit the market, I mean the world. So you know that we started gradually reducing for going for Titus. Right? We gradually started reducing going for Titus. So here a data scientist who deployed a model, he couldn't able to recognize the changes in a customer behavior. So your customers are going for Titus, now they started gradually reduced for going for Titus. And during lockdown, we completely stopped going for Titus. But there is a catch here. Obviously, in a lockdown, we didn't go for theaters, but we started watching more movies than before. You know why? Because in a lockdown, we have nothing to do, and there's a lot of OTTs are available. We started subscribing for a lot of OTTs like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and a lot of new OTTs born at that particular time. And I would say another changes in the behavior of peoples today after COVID. You know that OTTs are still ruling the market, and I would say that there might be a very small number of people who might stop going for theaters because if I wait for next 30 days, I can watch the same movie in OTT. Why do I need to go for theaters, right? So what I'm trying to explain here, the story is all about how your customer behavior is changing. So your customers are your data at the end of the day in AI, right? So what we technically call it as a data drift. Our data scientist didn't able to monitor the changes in the customer behavior. He didn't had any model monitoring tools implemented. So let's try to understand another side of a story right now. So another side of a story, you know that your customer behavior is going to change, correct? That means your data is going to change. That means your data has versions, correct? So it is really mandate today in order to track and version your data. There are different kind of data versioning tools that is available in the market that you can able to use. If I want to name one, I would say DVC, which stands for data version control tool, that you can able to use it. Or SageMaker in AWS, or Azure Machine Learning Studio, Vertex AI, they have their own data versioning tools that you can able to use. Then comes what? Source code. So what do you mean by source code versioning? Consider that if you're a data scientist or if you're a software developer, tell me how many times the code that you have written has been changed. 1,000 times, maybe more than that. Definitely, right? Have you ever managed to use source version control tools like GitHub? You might have heard about it, to version your source. But when we talk about ML ops, we don't just have a data science code. We do also have ML ops code. So we are talking about ML scripts, for example. So we are talking about ML scripts that we use for building a pipelines, all those stuff. So we need to definitely use source version control tools to version that. Followed by that, model artifacts versioning or model versioning. So as I mentioned, just remember that throughout the life cycle of your machine learning project, how many versions do you think you'll be using? Only one, or many number of versions? Definitely, we produce many different versions of models. This is where what we're calling it as model registries comes into the picture, like ML flow that I mentioned. SageMaker in AWS, they have their own model registry. If you go to stay till end of this program, right, I will show you how model registry looks like, how I registered a model. Only if you stay till end of this program, right? It's a good deal, right? Just a 2 hours you can wait. Okay, that's good. Saying that, this is about model registries. So that, let's can we focus on how we can able to master MLOps right now? We do understand the bare requirements right now, right? Let's try to understand the, so what it takes to master MLOps. Let's get started a discussion about MLOps components right now. So what do you mean by MLOps components? Any organization, how do they start in this particular journey? So obviously we start with a use case discovery, right? So use case discovery, basically use case identification that we're talking about. So this is where a collaboration between your business person and data scientist will be done. So they will be trying to identify the business problem, and they will be trying to translate that into viable problem statement that they can able to solve. Then comes data understanding. First of all, any organization should have enough data or enough access to the data in the future also. They need to start harvesting a more data. If there is no data, there's no point of talking about AI or MLOps or Gen AI or anything that we are talking today, right? So then comes, they do all the feasibility study. If they have a good understanding of a data, so then we do the feasibility study. Then we will be getting started with the data pre-processing step. We do understand what is data pre-processing, right? So it's similar to what we do in a kitchen, as I mentioned already. So then comes learning an algorithm. So consider that we use algorithms today in order to build those ML models. There are various different algorithms that you could able to use: TensorFlow, PyTorch, XGBoost, a lot of different ML frameworks, right? Then we started building an ML model. And we do understand data science is an experiment. He does multiple experiments to come up with the best version of a model. So consider that he has a good version. Let's consider that version 2 is really good. Now he does something called model evaluation. So what is model evaluation? So you want to deploy this model, but how do you know that there's a pretty much good, awesome model to be deployed in a production? So our data scientist does something called model evaluation. All he does, he extracts some kind of a metrics that he can able to relay on to make a decision. So then we started thinking about model serving. So model serving, it's all about going ahead and deploying your ML model to the production. So now comes, let's say we went and deployed your ML model to production. Your model is deployed. Then comes your automation comes into the picture. We have our CI/CD pipelines that is running. Then we have our model monitoring tools running, right? We started operating it in a production basically. Then we have our model monitoring tools, which is keep on monitoring your ML models 24/7, and it is checking if there is any changes in your data, the behavior, all those stuff. And we learn a lessons from the model monitoring, and from that lessons we keep on optimizing your models. What do you mean by keep on optimizing? You'll be retraining again and again and again and again whenever it is necessary, and you'll be delivering a newer version of a model to production. So that's how it's going to work. Saying that, here comes a way more important slide in this entire tutorial or in this entire program, to understand the complete MLOps in a one single slide. Get started. This is the interesting slide, I would say. So today, what's happening, folks? Every organization today, they want to move from automated ML workflows to a completely incorporated CI/CD pipelines. They want to move from here to here. As simple as that. So what do you mean by automated ML workflows? That the traditional way of building a model. We have a data, then we do a data preparation, model training, and then we go ahead and deploy your ML model to production. But there is no complete, this is not a complete automation that we're talking about. But how does a complete automation looks like? Here is the word that you need to understand. In an industry, we use a term called MLOps maturity level. So what is MLOps maturity level? So every organization has this maturity level. See what happens. Not every organization on a day one they implement complete automation, right? Because the first thing they focus on building models. That's what exactly every organization has done last 10 years ago. So what happens in a level zero? We say level zero is no automation. So everything will be done manually. But once you go to level 1, 2, level 3, and level 4. So level 4 is the highest level of automation that you can able to implement today in an organization. So what is this level 4? Level 4 is nothing but a complete automated retraining pipelines. Everything will be automated. Your data preparation, model training, model evaluation, model deployment. Maybe once in every 6 months, your organization want to build a new model. So automatically the pipelines run, it will build the new model, right? So that's called exactly the level 4 automation. So this is an example of level 4 automation. So let's take a look. Okay. So we again start our journey with ML project identification. So we don't want to discuss that more because let's consider that every organization has some requirements to get started. Okay. So then comes the data. We get started with the data. We do have a clear understanding that your data will definitely change. Your data will have versions. So here comes implementing a data version control tool. We see something on AWS, Azure, GCP that you can able to use it to start versioning your data. Then comes a data pre-processing step. So what do you do in a data pre-processing step? So data pre-processing is all about taking a data, cleaning it, transforming it. So for that reason, our data scientists and data engineers, they will be writing a lot of a Python code, right? So, and again, you know that the code that we write will definitely change in the future. So this is where we go ahead and integrate the code repositories. For example, GitHub, you might have heard about. Something on Azure, we call it as Azure repos, Bitbucket, AWS and GCP, they have their AWS and GCP, they have their own tools, code repositories, tools that we use it to version your code. And then comes in a model building step. Your data scientist will also write a lot of code, and this code will be also versioned in a code repositories. Then comes in a model training step. So what is a model training step? It's a step where we start taking a data, we'll start teaching a data to a machine. It can be a computer, CPU, GPU, anything on a cloud, right? Okay. So, but there is something called feature store. What it does, right? So, what is this feature store? Feature store is nothing but we call it as a schema repository. Consider that we want to train an ML model to predict an electricity bills. Let's say my data will look like this. I will be having voltage, current, and bills, or I might be having a power. So consider that voltage, current, and bills, the bills that you might have paid in a previous months, for example. So this is called features. And you can have multiple features and you can have feature versions. Consider that together with voltage, current, and bills, I will say this is a version one of my feature. Together with voltage, current, bill, and power, P for power, this can be a version two of a feature. So feature stores are basically a schema repositories. They are not databases. We don't store a data there. So all we have the schema informations. We keep a schema informations in a feature store, and with this schema informations, we fetch the right kind of a data, and we start training our ML model. That's how our ML model will get trained. So what happens after model training? So we generate model artifacts. What is model artifacts? Model artifacts are basically ML model and its metadata. So when you train your ML model, the output that you get, not just a ML model, you get a lot of other metadata, the training data that you use, the hyperparameters that you used. So, and we use model registries for this reason to version your ML models. So as I mentioned, you keep your versions of your model. Along with that, you keep a metadata of your model in a model registries. Okay, consider that in your model registry, you have multiple different versions. The latest version is version 3. So now you want to go ahead and you want to deploy this version 3 of a model to the production. So this is where again CI/CD pipelines will come to the picture. Your CI/CD pipelines will fetch the latest version of a model, that is version 3, and then you go ahead and integrate, and it will start deploying it in a production. Then we start operating in a production. So this is where what we call it as a model monitoring tools comes into the picture. We keep on monitoring an ML model 24 by 7. So how your data is going, what kind of a predictions, the prediction quality, all those stuff. Then comes implementation of quality gates. So what do you mean by a quality gates is nothing but, so automated quality gates really helps any organizations to decide whether it is a best model, can we go ahead and deploy to the production. So every organization, they will be having something called benchmarks. So consider that we are training a regression model. So let's say I'm sticking to a regression matrix. I will call it as MSE. MSE stands for mean square error. This is something that will be handled by a data scientist anyway. So MSE is a mean square error matrix. Let's say if it is lesser than or equal to 7, if this is true, I will be deploying my ML model to model registry. Otherwise, I will not deploy this ML model to model registry. That's how it's going to work. If this condition doesn't satisfy, that means the newer version of a model that you trained is not up to the organization's benchmark. So that's how you make a decision to deploy this model to the production or not. You can also use automated quality gates at the side of a data preparation also. Let's say your data is the highest priority. Your data has to be clean and transform. And you can also have automated quality gates at at the side of data preparation. If something is not good, the data is not good, right, your complete pipelines will stop over here. It won't execute the further pipelines. Then comes end to end traceability. So what do you mean by traceability? We are talking about monitoring, logging. Just imagine the complete infrastructure. So you have an infrastructure for versioning a data, the code, the feature stores, model registries. You have an infrastructure for training your ML models, right? You have a CI/CD pipelines. You need to monitor this complete infrastructure. So we use various different model monitoring tools for that. So you use, when it comes to a cloud platform, in AWS we use CloudWatch, we use Azure Application Insight and Azure, or maybe logging in GCP, or some other open source tools like Prometheus or Grafana for that. Model monitoring tools example again. So you know that right now MLOps is not just about deployment of a model. It is more than that. It's all about taking care of infrastructure, building a complete automation. So this is what exactly the MLOps is all about. Level 4 architectures basically. Okay, let's try to understand the different roles involved in MLOps right now. So consider that you might be coming from a data engineering, data science, software testing, DevOps, right? Can you be part of MLOps? Definitely yes. I will tell you how. Obviously, you know that developing a successful machine learning project definitely involves a varieties of experiences here. So it requires extreme collaboration among different teams here. So first of all, let's say this possible roles, for example, that you can of MLOps. Again, you can able to see these roles are completely defined by an organizations, right? So for example, any organization has a huge budget, they can have a huge roles at the end of the day. So what we do here, so let's start from the data analyst, right? So data analyst is someone, let's say we can say they closely work with a product managers and business team. So what they will be doing, they will be trying to drive a insight from a user data. They will be using various different tools like Excel sheets, Power BI, Tableau, and other data visualization tools. Our data analyst also plays a very important role in using a visualization tools to monitor your complete infrastructure in MLOps. Model monitoring tools, visualizing that, generating an insights from that. Then comes our data engineers. So data engineers, you know that they are the people who make sure that infrastructure is ready to collect, transform, and pre-process the data that is needed for training a model. So data engineers will be working with tools like ETL tools, Spark, Hadoop, data versioning tools that I mentioned. They will be working with feature stores, for example. And we know data scientist. So obviously our dear data scientist is someone who builds an ML model, which will be part of final end product. So our data scientist will be working also along with MLOps tools like orchestration tools. He'll be working with model registries. He will be working with data version tools, feature stores, etc., model monitoring tools, etc. Then comes research or maybe applied scientist. Okay, you don't see this role regularly in every organization, especially organizations who are working on a cutting edge technologies, like we can say Amazon, Facebook, that is Meta, or maybe Google that we're talking about. You will see those roles over there. So these people, basically they will be responsible for creating a new algorithms for the different product related areas. Then comes ML engineers, or we can say DevOps team. So in AI world, we don't say DevOps engineers, we say ML engineers otherwise, or MLOps engineers. So you know that these people's their work will be overlapped with data scientist. Hardly what this ML engineers will be doing, they will be taking a model that is trained by a data scientist, and they will be taking this model and they will be going ahead and deploying this ML model to production. Then comes a developers, a front end developers I'm talking about. So obviously your client might need some kind of a front end application, or some kind of a application that they can able to use it to access their models, right? They will be, developers will be responsible for that. Then comes our MLOps engineers. So the MLOps engineers are someone who will be taking care of building this complete automation. The first thing is, it depends on the role. Consider that you are an MLOps engineer, you will be responsible for building a complete automation, starting from picking up data versioning tools, source versioning tools, model registries, then comes model deployment, monitoring, all this stuff. And if you have more than 10 plus years of experience, 8 plus years of experience, you will be also responsible for deploying the infrastructure, managing the infrastructure too. It's really awesome, right? It's a lot of things. Saying that, can we get a flavors of all these tools? Yeah, here we go. You can see all these flavors over here, but let's try to discuss in detail. So different tools for MLOps. Okay, let's try to get into this particular slide. So we are talking about understanding a different flavors of tools across various different things that we're talking about: data versioning, experiment tracking, code versioning, model registries, model monitoring, etc. Right. So here is a slide which gives you an enough treat to understand what it is. Okay, so let's get started. So we are talking about the process of building traditional machine learning models, or something like this, right? So we take a data, then we do data exploration, what we're calling it as data preparation. Then we train your ML model, we evaluate it, finally we go ahead and deploy it, right? That's what exactly it is. So in order to undergo this process, what are the different flavors of tools that is available in the market? I mean, I didn't display all the tools that is available in the market, just to provide you some enough clarity. I have given some good examples here. Here comes the development IDs that you do use. Like say your data scientists want to write a lot of code. For that reason, we use IDs like Jupyter Notebooks, VS Code, for example, or Spider, etc. Then comes code versioning tools. So there are different range of code versioning tools that are available in the market. For example, it can be GitHub, Bitbucket, something in AWS, Azure, etc. Then comes data labeling tools. So there are data labeling tools that is used by your data scientist to label your data. So for example, in AWS, we have something called ground truth that you can able to use it, or etc. Then comes data exploration and visualization tools, folks. Like your I mean, as a human beings, we are a visual beings. We by visually seeing things, you can understand more about that, right? So we use range of different data visualization tools like Matplotlib, Seaborn, Pandas for that. Then comes feature stores, for example. So feature stores are something that we use to create a feature stores, to do a feature engineering, for example. We can use an algorithms like sklearn for that. Or if you want to go for completely a low code feature stores, you can use feature tool. Make a This particular slide also has a cloud based tools, open source tools, and also commercial tools. Commercial tools are like you need to pay a subscription for them for monthly usage. Okay, then comes a model training. If your data scientist want to train a ML model, right? So he will be using algorithms, right? So there are various different algorithms to solve various different problems. It can be TensorFlow, PyTorch, XGBoost, Keras, etc. That he might be using. Then comes, okay, before you go ahead and do the production, you do something POC, a proof of concept. So for building a proof of concept application, so we deploy these models locally. It can be on a Jupyter notebooks. You might deploy it on applications like Streamlit. but that is not for production, that just for the POC. Then for model debugging and visualization, there are a range of different tools that is available. So we use TensorBoard, weights and biases, for example. They are actually a commercial tools. Then for hyperparameter tuning, experimentation. So we use range of different tools like Keras Tuner, Tune, for example. Then comes for experiment tracking. So a data scientist does different experiments, but how do you remember that which experiment is for what, which experiment is good, which is bad? So he will be using tools like MLflow. MLflow is the best tool that is outside in the market that you must know. Weights and biases, tensor boards can be another example. For model packing, so let's say you want to go ahead and deploy your ML model. For that, you need to pack it. So you can use various different technologies for that. So you can use TensorFlow packing, PyTorch packing, and MLflow can be one of an example. Or you want to deploy your ML models to the Kubernetes framework, we use Kubeflow packing for that. ONNX, or you want to deploy your models in a cloud like SageMaker, Vertex AI, we use different strategies. Okay, then comes a model serving. So if you want to serve your ML model, you want to go ahead and deploy your ML model to production. So you might deploy it on Amazon SageMaker, Vertex AI, containers. There's a lot of options, right? Yeah, saying that, then comes workflow orchestration. So what do you mean by workflow orchestration? So how do you build this complete automation, a step-by-step approach? So this is where a lot of tools comes in picture, like Apache Airflow, Kubeflow, ZenML, Metaflow. There's a lot of open source tools, and including a commercial tools like Olahai. So followed by that, if you want to use the right kind of a data versioning tools, we have a range of different tools like DVC is the one that I mentioned. Or you can also use Git large files, or you can also use commercial tools like weights and biases and Volai. For model registry, you need a right tool to go ahead and version all the models that you do have. For that reason, we use MLflow can be a best tool. Our SageMaker in AWS, Azure, GCP, they have their own, or you can use commercial tools. For model monitoring, there are a lot of tools that is outside in the market. When it comes to clouds like AWS, Azure, GCP, they have their own SDKs that you can able to use. So then comes finally feature stores that you can able to use. If you want to create a complete feature store that you want to use it to serve your features, there are different options. Feast is a pretty much famous one, which is open source. Yeah, saying that, so let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so consider that tomorrow you want to become a specialist in MLOps. So, what are the different things that you need to consider when it comes to picking up a right tool for your organization? Okay, let's get started. So, let's say you want to pick a difference between, let's say you want to pick a open source tool or you want to pick a closed source tool. So, we're talking about you want to completely go open source. Your organization want to go open source. So, obviously, we know that open source tools are completely free. They're free tools, and you can able to easily integrate that with your MLOps tool. The problem is this actually. So what happens? Maybe if you have very few developers who have a knowledge on this particular open source tool, then it could be a difficult process for your organization, right? So then comes platform versus specific tool. What do you mean by platform versus specific tool? So let's say we can debate between a cloud-based tools and a commercial tools. See, consider that today every organization they want to move towards a cloud. It can be AWS, Azure, or GCP. Or there's another option. You can also use a commercial tools like Ola High, is Guazio that I mentioned previously in the slide. So which platform that you choose also plays very important role. So then comes the kind of a tool that you're going to pick for your organization. Does it provides you, let's say, monitoring your ML model and your infrastructure in a production? So can you monitor your ML models? I mean, can you monitor your drift, the quality issues, and can you monitor your ML? I mean, your complete environment, the infrastructure, to make sure that your bugs are documented and addressed in the meantime, right? And your security and compliances concerns also addressed in the meantime. That's also important. So more than everything, model templating and cataloging plays very important role. MLOps is all about cataloging and templating. See, consider that, remember that architecture that I defined previously, the level 4 architecture that I mentioned. Consider that you put all your efforts and you build a complete automation for a specific client in your organization. Okay, and consider that tomorrow you're not going to work with, you're not going to work with only one project. You're going to work with a multiple projects in the same organization. So the question is, are you going to reinvent this wheel again and again? So definitely we don't want to, right? This is where the templating process comes into the picture. So you create what we call it as a template. So by using the same template again and again, you can able to, by making a minimal changes, you can able to implement the same automation. What do you mean by minimal changes? Maybe you have used the template to deliver a classical machine learning model for a specific client. Maybe you want to use the same template for delivering a large language model or a generative AI model. Basically, we are talking about deep learning models. So the same template does works for you. Then comes model training, tuning, and drift management. So, is there any automation for automated training and model tweaking? So we are talking about everything to be automated. So we don't want our data scientist or someone to sit and run the code in a Jupyter notebooks manually. We want to do automation. We want our data preparation, model training, model evaluation, deployment of a model. Maybe once in a 6 months, or once in a 1 year, I want to retrain the newer version of a model. Can it be done automatically? Does this tool provides you that particular support is also important. Then comes a pipeline management. So what do you mean by pipeline management? Throughout a workflow, there's a lot of different peoples. There might be a data engineers, there may be a data scientist, there might be an ML engineer, there might be an MLOps engineer, etc. So consider that if a data model training fails, I want to notify this data scientist, right? Saying that, Dear data scientist, your model training has failed. Please go ahead and take a look," right? Okay, something like that. We need a facility for pipeline management. So automated triggers and updates on a build process if something goes wrong, right? So more than that, collaboration and communication capability, because MLOps is all about that, right? So using communication tools like integrate, documenting your commands, questions, maybe integrating project management tools like Jira, integrating communication tools like Slack might help your organization too, right? So that's about how you become an expert, what kind of a tool that you pick, what you pick for your organization. Okay, let's talk about MLOps on a cloud right now. So we know that there are two things like cloud, then comes open source tools that you run in your premises, or maybe a commercial tools can be a rare case scenario. So let's consider why cloud. First of all, we know that the entire world is moving towards the cloud. There's no doubt about it. And if you want to get started focusing on a MLOps and a cloud, do you think it's a good idea? I will go ahead, and a few people who talk to me, they say that, Sharath, I'm only interested in AWS. I don't want Azure or GCP. I'm only interested in AWS only. They might say that sometimes they don't need access to the open source tools also. See, that's not how it's going to work. See, MLOps, when we talk about MLOps, it's a combination of multiple tools dependencies. So I have seen an organization who deploy models on AWS, but they run their DevOps pipelines on Azure. There are organizations, they, even though they use clouds, but they use Dockers, Kubernetes inside a cloud. But Dockers and Kubernetes are not part of AWS, but they use Dockers and Kubernetes inside AWS to deploy your models, to manage your models, to manage your workflows. So when we talk about MLOps, it's must, I would say, it's must and must and must. It's that you need to focus on a multi-cloud. We're talking about AWS, Azure, and GCP, but we don't want to focus on other clouds like Alibaba, Salesforce, or Oracle. So because they are the three leading cloud platforms here, AWS, Azure, and GCP. So what are the cloud platforms we do cover in our MLOps specialization program? So we do cover anything related to DevOps and MLOps on AWS, Azure, and GCP with the hands-on projects. I mean, not limited to cloud, we do also cover open source tools here. So let's take a look. So let's get into the first set of tools. We'll be getting started with the Git based tools first. So what are the Git based tools? So we do understand the Git workflow for all the reasons in MLOps. So understanding Git, using Git repositories like GitHub or maybe Azure repos or maybe any other code repository, how you use it, right? It can be AWS code commit or something on GCP. And understanding CI/CD pipelines plays very important role. See, you know that CI/CD is a traditional process that we use in a software industry. Yes, it's a process that we use in order to deliver a new version of a software to the production. That's where the CI/CD comes in the picture. What we call it as continuous integration and continuous delivery. It's all about improving a software delivery. Like, let's try to understand a simple process. Let's forget about MLOps quickly. Let's say there is a simple software, a web app that you need to deliver, right? These are the processes that will be involved. What happens? Step number one, you will be having your developer who will be making a changes in a code that he has in PC, and he pushed the code to a code repository. So what is the code repository? Let's say we are talking about GitHub here. Your code is sitting in a GitHub, for example, right? So once your code has been pushed to a GitHub, everything will be taken care through an automation here. So once the code is pushed, automatically the new code that you have pushed to your GitHub will be fetched. It will start building your application. So what do you mean by building your application? Let's say there is a Java developer who is writing a Java application. Once you build your Java application, you create a .jar file. That's a final artifact, right? So let's say we are talking about such kind of a build. Maybe you want to Dockerize your ML model, right? So let's say your build process will begin. And if your build process gets succeed or fail, it will be notified to you. And then comes running a test. So you have an application, but how do you make sure that your application is working perfectly before you go for testing? I mean, before you go for production, that's where the testing comes. Here we do automated testing, and again we notify if your testing failed or passed. Then finally we take the artifact that is ready, and then we finally go ahead and deploy the application to the production. So a quick example is this. Consider that there is a e-com website. Let's say we're talking about amazon.com itself. Let's say you want to buy something from amazon.com. Let's say there is a pay now button. We are talking about a production preview right now. Currently in a production, you're going to hit a green color button, which is pay now to buy a product in Amazon. But you know that green is not so much attractive. I don't like it. So I will be giving a lot of feedback. So green is not so much attractive. Red is so much attractive, right? So considering this feedback, so what an organization will be doing, he will be calling a developer, and developer will be changing the button color from green to red in his local PC. Then he will be pushing this code to a Git repository, GitHub, because that's where your code is stored. We have a two different branches for two different environments. So initially, what your developer will be doing, you will be pushing the dev branch, and then comes your DevOps tools here. We are talking about code pipelines in AWS, which is a DevOps tool. So we use a build service to build application, and we create a artifacts. The artifacts basically the final end product. Then we use a deployment tool to go ahead and deploy your application to a web server. So initially we deploy your application to dev environment. Now you can see that in a dev environment, your button has been changed to a red color. But dev environment is only for your internal team. It's not for your end users. So once you have an application deployed to dev, you do a further testing here. You come and check the button, you click it, you see whether the functionality of a button is working. If all the test is okay, in the next step, you go ahead and deploy the same red color button to the production. So if all the test is passed in dev, then you go ahead and deploy to the production. So that's how the CI/CD pipelines works, and we use the same kind of a strategy for MLOps pipelines. So this is how it looks like. Let's consider that here's your data scientist or MLOps engineer. He will be making some, maybe our data scientist will be playing with a Python code to making some changes to the data science. Our MLOps engineer might be working on ML script on the for the entire pipelines workflow. They are making some changes, and they will be pushing the changes to a code repository. This can be any code repository that you know. So the first step in a workflow, it's basically a data preparation. So feature engineering. So this is where we do a data preparation, clean and prepare, transform your data. Next step, we started doing a model training. So once the model training is done, then we do a model evaluation. So we want to decide whether it's a best model to be deployed. Then finally, we do have something called condition step. So what is this condition step? It's really that you need to know. So what is this condition step actually? So condition step is basically what I'm talking about, a quality gate. I did mention that previously. Let's say I'm going to have a quality gate, something like this. If my MSE score is less than or 7, if this is true, I register my ML model to model registry. My first version will get deployed here. If it is false, right? If it is false, I don't register this ML model to model registry. That's how it's going to work. Let's consider it is true right now, right? So it is true, right? So now I will register my first version of a model to model registry. Otherwise I don't. So once I have my model in a model registry, then comes my build step. Let's say I will take this model, I want to Dockerize it. I'm going to Dockerize my ML model. Then I want to go ahead and I will take this model. Initially, I will deploy the first version of a model to a dev environment. Here comes my data scientist, senior data scientist. He will be going and checking a model. He will be checking the functionality of a model. It just makes sure that your model is working up to your mark. And if you're satisfied with that, then you go and deploy the same version 1 of a model to your production, and you implement your model monitoring tools, which is keep on monitoring your ML model and your complete infrastructure. And you have a schedule in a way that, so once in every 6 months or maybe once in every 3 months, automatically this pipeline will run. It will produce the next version of a model. The next version will be produced, and next version will be redeployed to your production again another after again 3 months, it will produce third version, it will deploy third version. It goes on like this. That's what exactly you're talking about automation. So there is another confusion that's outside in the market. So whether ML ops or LLM ops, are they different? They are not actually. So LLM ops, what we're talking about, generative AI productionization, they are not different. So let's try to understand the key differentiators here. When we talk about large language model operations, which you want to use to deliver your Llama models or Hugging Face models or AI 21 Labs or Stability AI models, use the same traditional MLOps practices, but there are two things they are different here. So what we call it as prompt engineering, otherwise a responsible AI is going to be different. But traditionally we have other same steps: data preparation and versioning. So then comes fine tuning. So when it comes to the large language models, we don't train your large language model from the scratch. That's a different ball game. That's all about, it's nothing but you trying to create your own deep learning model from scratch. But we are not into that particular story. Let's say you don't have a budget for that also, right? Because today you cannot build your own large language model from scratch like OpenAI or an organization. So what we're talking about, fine tuning, taking an existing Llama model, I want to fine tune that with my own data of my organization. So once you have your own data, you train it and you produce your own first version of your model, and you store it in your model artifacts, which we're talking about model registries, right? So model registries, you register your model to model registry, then you take the best version of a model from a model registry. Again, your pipeline runs and you go ahead and deploy your large language model into your favorite environment. That's it. This is what exactly we do in MLOps. But what is so much different here is prompt engineering and responsible AI. So you know what is responsible AI and prompt engineering. So prompt is all about the input question that you're going to ask. Consider that you want to ask a question to the, you want to generate some output from a chat gpt. Let's say you want to ask a chat gpt to write, I want to prepare a biryani today, maybe Hyderabad dum biryani. Can you tell me the recipe? It's an input prompt, it's a question. Then you get a desired answer, right? How do you manage the prompt, right? Prompt engineering, what we're talking about, that is going to be different in large language model operations. Then comes responsible AI. So what do you mean by responsible AI? You know that today in the world of let's say the gen AI, or maybe what we're talking about large language models, too many things can go wrong, right? Today you can able to use your large language models or gen AI models for offensive purposes. You can use gen AI models, you can ask gen AI models to generate an offensive pictures, right, to images. But that is not something that we need to do. That's where the responsible AI comes into picture. A responsible AI plays a very important role. The input that is produced by your that produced by your user will be filtered by responsible AI. If user is trying to generate an offensive content, it will throw back an error saying that you cannot do that. Similarly, the output that is produced by your large language models, the models that is deployed, your responsible AI will also filter that. Maybe your models might generate an offensive content, and your responsible AI might also filter that. So that's the only difference, key differentiators here. Saying that, let's try to understand the CI/CD tools that we will be covering throughout this particular program. So yes, we will be covering AWS DevOps tools like code pipelines, code build, code deploy, etc. with hands-on project. And we do cover complete Azure DevOps suite. I mean the complete Azure repos, Azure pipelines, test plans, and Azure boards. Not limited to cloud itself, we do also cover open source tools. We do cover GitHub Actions with live hands-on projects with Jenkins, and also a GCP DevOps tools like Cloud Run, Cloud Build, Cloud Deploy, and their own code repositories. Not just limited to that, there is no world without Dockers and Kubernetes, isn't it? Because tomorrow, who knows, that your organization definitely want to use Dockers and Kubernetes. So we do cover Dockers from The scratch, yes. Kubernetes from the scratch with hands-on project, but not limited to Docker and Kubernetes on premises. Also, how to use the cloud-based Kubernetes infrastructures like EKS on AWS, Elastic Kubernetes Service, Azure Kubernetes Service, Google Kubernetes Engine with hands-on. Some of the other open source tools that we will be covering in this program. So, are you interested in learning data versioning tools with hands on? You want to learn how to version a data by using DVC? We do get to cover that. How to use feature stores like open source tools like Feast is a pretty much famous one that you need to use in your organization. Or you want to get started with the workflow orchestration tools, Kubeflow, for example. So, do you love Spotify? Is there anyone who loves Spotify here, folks? I do. I use Spotify every day. And do you know how Spotify uses Kubeflow? Yes, they use Kubeflow for their music, for the machine learning purpose, for the music recommendation. Their pipelines running on Kubeflow still today. Or do you want to use Apache Airflow? For again, Apache Airflow is one of our open source tool. Or you want to explore other tools like Argo Workflow, or ZenML Metaflow, or Kedro or CML, for example. Or do you want to explore the pretty much must needed model registry that's outside in the market, MLflow? We do get to cover that with hands-on project. And we talk about something called infrastructure as a code very regularly. Consider that today when we talk about ML ops engineer, let's consider that you have more than 8+ years of experience. You'll be taking care of infrastructure. You'll be also taking care of automation. So consider that you want to do everything on top of AWS. Maybe on top of AWS you need a couple of services. You need a VM, you need a storage, you need a maybe SageMaker, blah blah blah. How do you create it? I do log into say AWS. I go to each and every service I created, right? That's a manual way of doing it. But what if I can write a simple code in order to create this complete infrastructure? So Terraform, we do cover that. Yes. Then comes model monitoring. So evidently AI. So we do cover open source tool that is called evidently AI for model monitoring. So followed by that, what we cover in a cloud. So here comes the very famous cloud platforms and very famous end-to-end MLOps tools outside in a cloud platforms. SageMaker as SageMaker Studio, we do cover that with hands-on project. Yes. So then comes Azure Machine Learning has Azure Machine Learning Studio. We do cover how to build the level 4 project in AWS, level 4 project in Azure, level 4 project in Vertex AI. GCP has something called Vertex AI. And then comes model monitoring tools. Every cloud platforms, they offer their own SDK that we can able to use to do a model monitoring, will be covered with hands-on project. And not limited to the cloud or open source, we will be also exploring and we'll be also talking about commercial tools that's outside in the market, but they're not really important, but we want to just make sure that you are on a top notch, right? So we do also cover some of the commercial tools. We'll go into the discussions and with some demos. Then comes post deployment challenges. End of a story. You deployed a model. Do you think the job is done? No, right? The actual job actually starts after you deploying a model to production. So there are challenges related to software engineering that you'll be facing. There are challenges related to machine learning models. You're going to deploy a models to the edge devices. There are different challenges. We'll be learning that, addressing it. Saying that, you know that we learned a lot, right? There's a lot to learn in order to become a specialist in MLOps. So why don't we take a time and why don't we have an awesome demo right now? So I have arranged a demo on a world leading cloud platform, AWS. But I mean, at a time in a demo in this session, I cannot provide you a demo on all the clouds. But here I picked AWS. But in this live session, you will be building up projects along with me, right? Okay, let's go to AWS console. Let's try to understand what we have built so far here. Okay, here we go. So let's get started. I'm in a SageMaker console. You can see this is I'm in currently in Amazon SageMaker Studio. So this is what exactly we are talking about. AWS has SageMaker Studio, which is a complete end-to-end tool that you want to use it in your organization to build a production grade AI applications. Doesn't matter classical machine learning models, large language models, Gen AI models, you can deliver it anything here. So here I will go to projects I created. I created a project called MLOps demo class 1. And here you will see that, let me just start with the repositories. I did mention that my code will sit in a repository. My code will get versioned there. I have two different repositories you can see here, one for model building, one for model deployment. Great, right? And I will go to the pipelines. Pipelines is a console where you see your pipelines running. So let me just go inside this pipeline now. You can see my pipeline has executed only once. Consider that if your pipeline executed once, it will produce first version of a model. If executed twice, second version. Third version. Maybe you have scheduled this pipeline to run once in every 3 months. So once in every 3 months, this pipeline will run automatically without your intervention. So let's go inside this execution. Let's try to understand what I have built so far. So we call it as a graph. Basically, this is called an orchestration. Okay, so these are the steps that I do have. The first step in a workflow is I call it as pre-process abalone data, which is nothing but a pre-processing step. So what do you mean by pre-process and abalone data? So basically here I have trained a ML model on abalone, so which is the real-time data set. If you know what is an abalone, abalone is some kind of a snail which is available in the seas, and you can, a lot of farmers also harvest the snails. I mean, this is something an edible. You can eat it, right? If you're a non-vegetarian, so you can eat this snail. So I mean, it's pretty much critical in the in this abalones. It's predicting an age. So basically, what I'm trying to do, I'm predicting an age of an abalone, because depending on the age of an abalone, the price is decided in a market. Basically, we're helping a farmers to decide on a price. The first step, I'm taking a raw data from my customers. I'm doing a data preparation. I'm doing it automatically, not manually. Okay. So this steps runs automatically. So once the data preparation is done, I take my training data and I will start training my ML model here. So once the model has been built, the output of this particular stage will be an ML model. So I'm taking my ML model to the next stage, and you can see this arrow mark. This is basically I'm taking my test data. So I'm taking my ML model and test data. In the next stage, I'm doing what we call it as model evaluation. So this is where I'm calculating this metrics called MSC. So I'm calculating this metrics called MSC. So consider that my metrics, let's consider that my MSC score is something like this. My MSC score, let's assume it is 4.5. So my MSc score is 4.5. So what happens next? So then comes my quality gate. You remember that I mentioned about quality gate? This is where I have a simple condition. If my MSc score is if less than or equal to 7. So what is my MSc score? It is 4.5. 4.5 is lesser than or equal to 7. This condition is satisfied. So that's why it is true. That means we have registered our first version of a model to model registry. So this is a model registry that you're taking a look. Can we take a look on this model that I registered? SageMaker has its own model registry, as I mentioned. For that, we need to go to this models towards left side, and you will see the model registry that I created. So with the name of my project, the name of my project is this MLOps demo class 1. So if I open that, you will see I have a first version of a model, but this model is not deployed yet, because the model is actually waiting for my approval to be deployed in a product. I mean, to deployed in a staging environment. We are not deploying to the production first. So now let's try to deploy this model to the production. So you know that I have a first version of a model. I will go to the first version, and let me just show you how to approve this ML model to be deployed in a production. You can see I have all the parameters that I calculated. So the training accuracy, that is RMSE score, the RMSE score and validation data. So here I will be clicking on this deploy button, and it is currently pending for approval. As a data scientist, if you are someone who makes a decision, if this model is not good, you can also reject it. But right now I want to approve it. I'll click on approval button. I would say all good. I would say all test okay, and then I would simply click save button. That's it. So now you can see that I have actually approved my ML model to be deployed in a staging environment. So from this time, it will take a few seconds for this model to be go ahead and deployed in a production actually. So where do I check the model is getting deployed to the production? Again, I need to go to this projects towards left side. And again, I need to open my project, which is MLOps demo class 1. And we have a couple of other options here. You can see we have something called endpoints. If you go to this endpoint section, here, after some time, you should able to notice that model that is getting deployed staging environment will be displayed here. And you can also see a model group here. Model group is nothing but model registry. It's the same model registry that we accessed right now. Okay, from this point, it will take few more minutes to be deployed this model to staging. So what we will do, we'll come back after a few seconds, okay? Because there's a lot to learn further. Okay, let's go back to our slide now. Okay, let's try to understand. In the meantime, our model is getting deployed. Let's try to understand, obviously, what you are awaiting for a so long time, the career opportunities in MLOps. How does it looks like, right? So who should be part of this MLOps? Who should learn MLOps? How it's going to be really benefited for you, right? So you can be a data scientist. That means it's must for you. Or you might be a data engineer or data analyst who want to work for ML AI industry, or you're already part of it. Or you might be a researcher, applied scientist, ML engineer, or you are a DevOps engineer trying to transform into MLOps. That's good. Congratulations. You comes with an added advantage because you're already a DevOps engineer. You do understand the traditional DevOps. You do understand how CI/CD works, how source version control works. You do understand the software delivery. That's really welcomes you to get into MLOps here. Pretty much easy. Or if you're an aspiring MLOps enthusiast, or if you're a machine learning professional who want to learn how to deploy a model to production, or you're coming from any other background, so where you have a knowledge of Docker, Kubernetes, something on AWS, or you want to learn DVC, Feast, ML flow, or if you are a professional who are coming from, if you have an interest in data or AI industry, you can transform into MLOps. There is a one question asked always, people ask, okay, so if I want to become an MLOps engineer, do I want to learn data science? I'm talking about a pure MLOps engineer. Definitely not. MLOps engineers are not data scientists. They don't build models. MLOps engineers, they don't build models traditionally, because MLOps engineers, they will be working with a data scientist. Data scientist is someone who builds a model. MLOps engineer will take some model from data scientist, they go ahead and deploy to the production, or they build this complete automation, or they take care of infrastructure. But there is a tradition, right? I would say this. So consider that. Let's assume you are a DevOps engineer, for example. Okay, so you are a DevOps engineer. You're working closely with a software engineer because you want to take a software from a software engineer and you want to go ahead and deploy it to the production. But as a DevOps engineer, you cannot say that I have no idea on what kind of a software my software engineer is building. Obviously, you are, as a DevOps engineer, you don't code, you don't build a software, but you need to have a sufficient idea what kind of a software we are building, what kind of a framework we are building, right? We need to have an idea. That's what exactly similarly works in MLOps. You need to have a sufficient idea of what my data scientist is doing, what kind of a models that we're building. That's what exactly what you will be learning in this program. Okay, so let's try to really work out about the numbers. Okay, so consider that. So what does an average salary today, the latest update from uh, the March 2024 in looks like, according to the sixfigure.com? Someone who has 2 to 3 years of experience only. I'm talking about someone who has a 2 to 3 years of experience according to MNC standards. After verifying a 24 profiles in sixfigure.com, an average salary today in India is 26.6 lakhs. I'm talking about according to MNC standards. This can vary in small company and a big company, right? And obviously there is no doubt about it, US UK market is really higher. So an average salary start from 94K, right, dollars per annum. And consider that if you're lying in a different slab, so if you're applying for MLOps engineer, your slab can be different. If you're applying for a lead positions in MLOps, your slab can be different, right? So maybe 33% of people may be lying in a 10 to 20 lakh slab, or maybe 42% might lying between 20 to 30, or 25% of people might be lying to 30 to 40. Maybe people who are going for a lead, or maybe let's say architects even will be paid more actually, right? And definitely, you know that there is no doubt about the ML job vacancy trend outside in the market, because the world is talking about only one thing, that is AI. And last 10 years ago, they put out a lot of investment in building up. Now they want to productionize that model to, they want to reach their customers. Simple. They're looking for an MLOps talents because they need MLOps engineers who can able to take a model they have built it for last 10 years, and they want to do some solid automation to deploy a model to the production. And that's what exactly what's going to happen for the next 10 to 15 years, for example, or more than 15 years. But we cannot predict hardly what's going to happen in after 20 years, but this is what exactly is going to happen. So today we are talking about deep learning models. We are talking about transformers. We are talking about this large language models, Gen AI. It can be AGI, any kind of AI models. We need automation. For that, they need MLOps engineers. Pretty much simple. And let's try to understand the speed of transformation. I have a lot of history to share here. Uh, See, consider that this is the best example I would say. You know, we are aware about drones. This drone has replaced this specific industry of a choppers and cameraman using specific choppers and cameras to shoot a movie or maybe a news or something. So this industry just got transformed in 10 years, which is a long time, but 10 years is a big deal. But you know that today AI is transforming pretty much faster than any industry. There's no doubt about it, because each and every day there's a new tool that's outside in the market, there's a new technology outside in the market, but you don't hear more about other IT industry, right? You don't see more new technologies in a SaaS or something in blockchains or maybe something in DevOps, but you hear a lot about AI. But the question is, do you want to be a creator or do you want to be a user of this AI? Do you want to be a creator? Do you want to be both, right? Okay, quickly, in the meantime, our model is getting deployed because there's more to enjoy in a demo. Meantime, let me just talk about the program. So we are starting our MLOps specialization program starting from November 9th. Not so long, our registration has been already started. So as I mentioned, it's a really huge. So we are starting our live sessions from 9th of November. It's a 11 weekends program. 11. We are talking about hardly 2.5 months to a 3 months program it is otherwise, right? It's a 11 weekends program. So it's going to start, it's going to happen on every weekends only. It's a weekends only program. Every weekend starting from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. IST. So let's say you are from India, your live sessions will be from 7 to 11. Or if you're from EST time zone, you will be joining the sessions from 9:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Or if you're from CET, 2:30. So let's try to understand the workflow of this program. It's pretty much interesting. Every weekend, 7 to 11, we'll be having a live sessions, as I mentioned. Every Monday, you will be receiving an access to the recordings of a live session that you attend. And every weekdays also we do have a program, but we call it as they are optional to attend. So they are called debugging sessions. These debugging sessions are more of a one-on-one. So we do conduct at least 2 to 3 debugging sessions a week. You can able to join according to your time convenience. And even though every debugging session happens on 7 p.m. IST, let's say if you're not available in a 7 p.m. IST, so you can able to join throughout this training season based on a mutual understanding between a trainer. I am a trainer, you know that. I am a trainer for this program, yes. So obviously between a mutual understanding between and me, we can connect anytime and we can help you to fix the issue, screen to screen, face to face. Yeah. Okay, so let's try to understand some key features of our MLOps specialization program. It's a 90 hours program, as I mentioned, 11 weekends that I'm talking about. So there are more than 50 plus hands-on labs. There are 28 real-time projects. And so there are almost 19 to 20 real-time projects that you will be building in a live session itself. How do we build this project? Let's assume that I am building the project on my screen. Parallelly, you'll be building out in your screen, step by step. That's how it's going to work. So, and one-on-one debugging sessions basically. So the most advantage of this entire program, the most USP of this program is a hands-on. So consider that it's a 90 hours. So what people mostly like about our program, 85% of a time that you're going to spend in this 90 hours, you will be busy building a project with me. That means it will be more engaged. We'll make sure that you don't sleep. Yeah. So that's how it's going to work. So saying that, let's try to understand quickly the pricing structure of this particular program. So pricing structure is also fun to know. I will tell you why. Because there are three different pricing options that we do have. Because here the peoples comes to the program, they don't just come to the skill development. So basically, we say there are two different phases in this program. Phase number one, phase number two. So which one that you want to be part of is the question. So what is phase number one is nothing but it's only skill development. So consider that you're only here to learn the skill. You want to attend the live sessions, you want to attend the debugging sessions, and you want to attend let's say you want to get the access to the recordings. So in that particular scenario, you can go for something called a basic plan, right? So let's talk about all the plans that we do have. So we have something called basic, advanced, and advanced plus. The topmost plan, what we call it as advanced plus plan, our advanced plus plan, the fee will be starting around 49,999, right, which is nearly round off for 50,000 rupees. And we have an advanced plan which is lesser than an advanced plus, we call it as 43,999. It's an advanced plan. Or we are calling it as basic plan, which is costing around 40,999. Let's try to discuss. Okay, as I mentioned, if you're only interested in upskilling, you can go for basic plan. All the features in a basic plan is included in advanced, is included in advanced plus. Okay, saying that, so what you get in advanced plan is the most interesting part. So consider that in an advanced plan, everything in a basic is included, but you get some additional premium support from me. So what do you mean by that? So the first feature, we call it as bonus reattendance opportunity. Let's consider this: 99.9% of our people who take our programs are working professionals like you, and obviously it's a 11 weekends program. So what happens, obviously we are busy always, and we make sure that we also learn, we want to learn this thing. So you putting your time and investment here, and you want to learn everything, and we want to also make sure that you learn everything from this program. So this is where we are bringing this opportunity. So bonus reattendance opportunity is nothing but by signing up once, we give you twice to attend 2 batches. So consider that you are joining our November batch. Even after you completing a November batch, you'll be given another chance to take a January batch, the right next batch. After November, you'll be getting one more chance to take a January batch. So that means, let's assume that you missed few live sessions in a November. That means you will be given another chance to take a batch in January. So, consider that in a batch by batch, in every new batch, there might be a new syllabus that we are updating. So, if you go ahead and compare the curriculum of our September batch, and if you compare the current batch, the curriculum is a lot of things we have updated. So, you can also learn that. Okay, then comes a 6 months of technical job support that we provide in advancement. So, this is where a phase two comes into the picture. Let's discuss about what we call it as phase two. See, consider that most of the people, they want to, after upskill, they need a support in finding a job. So what we do here, this is where we are really good at. So in a phase number two, there are a couple of things comes into the picture. So one is resume preparation, and then comes a technical job support basically. So we are talking about two different features. One is 6 months of technical job support and resume preparation. So see what happens in a phase two. First, we help you in optimizing your resumes. So consider that you want to apply for MLOps engineering job role, data science, or maybe you want to apply for some kind of a lead positions in MLOps. How does your resume should look like? We help you bias your resumes in a first time. Okay, then comes, we also help you in optimizing any of your job portals. So consider that it can be LinkedIn, Naukri, or it can be any job portal that you have in your country, just to make sure that we put a right keyword, you can able to get a good calls from your organization. So then comes JD decoding sessions. So what do you mean by JD decoding sessions? This is where we are really good at. So consider that you're getting some good calls. Maybe you have an interview day after tomorrow, maybe 3 days from now, right? So before you going ahead and sitting for a technical discussion, in an actual interview, we'll be asking you to bring the JD, and we can able to sit for a discussion. So we will do a mock interview if you need, or we do JD decoding. So basically, we go through all the tools. Maybe they're asking for AWS, Azure, GCP hands-on, maybe Docker and Kubernetes, or some other open source tools. So how are you going to answer the questions? What kind of a questions they're going to shoot you? So maybe you have mentioned some of the projects that we have built it during our program. So how are you going to deal with how you build this project? What's your role over there? So basically, to make sure that you could able to clear that interview, we feed that clarity and confidence that is needed for you. So that's what exactly we do. Or if you are in this 6 months of job support, you can also start using the 6 months of job support in a way. Consider that you're already working, you need some support, you need some debugging. Let's say you're building some projects, you need some consulting, sample code, architecture reviews. We are really good at that, so you can able to start using this support. So this is about advanced plan, which is just a 3,000 rupees more than a basic plan. But if you go to the topmost plan, the advanced plus, this is where the way more support comes in picture. Instead of you getting 6 months support, you get 1 year support. And here comes the added advantage, folks. So we have still 25 days more than 25 days to start our live sessions, right? So you don't want to, even though if we start our session on November 9th, right, still you have 3 months to complete a program. You don't want to actually wait for 3 months to complete this program. So what you can do, if you sign up for Advanced Plus, immediately we give an access to a recordings of a previous batch. That's a September batch. So you can go through these recordings anytime that you want. Parallelly, you can start attending the live sessions. So that's how it's going to work. It's an awesome feature. So saying that, if you want to check the pricing in USD, our advanced plus plan will look like $749. Your advanced plan will be around $649, and a basic plan will be $599. But I don't want to hold yourself for a long. I will talk about some of the surprise things that we do have. So what do you mean by surprise? Okay, not pretty much. It's a big surprise, but let me tell you what is this about. See, consider that most of the working professionals, they take either advanced or advanced plus plan. Let's assume that you are interested in advanced plan, then you don't want to register for advanced plan because you need to pay 43,999. All you need to do, you need to go ahead and register for basic plan, and we will be upgrading you to advanced plan for free. So what we call it as a free upgradation offer. But unfortunately, the course registration has been started 2 weeks ago. So it's a tradition that we do for every new batch that we conduct. For the first week, for the first 10 registrations, we give this free upgradation offer. So currently we have 4 seats available out of 10, but still it should hold. So this free upgradation offer will be available till 19th of October. So you can able to go ahead and register for that. So all you need to do, if you're looking for advanced plan, don't register for that. All you need to do, go ahead and register for basic plan, and we will be upgrading you to advanced plan. And we do have an EMI options on all the major credit cards starting from 1,700 rupees a month for basic or advanced. In the same way, are you looking for advanced plus plan? You want to get started immediately in next 24 hours? Don't register for advanced plus plan. All you need to do, register for advanced plan, which is a middle one. Then we will be upgrading you to topmost plan. That means you get 1 year support and access to the recordings immediately. But here, check the value. In a basic plan, you don't get another chance to retake the program. But just by registering for basic plan, you get advanced plan, you get another retake. 100% you don't miss out anything from this program because you do have twice the chance to access this program. So that's a beauty of it. Okay, what is the next step? Don't listen to me, right? So go ahead and listen to our testimonials. So we do have a lot of testimonials from the peoples who are coming from even a non-technical background, could able to transform into MLOps, right? I'm really proud to talk about a person called, a woman, Deepali. So I would recommend you to go ahead and watch this testimonial because it's already there in our PDF. I will share that to you. So I would like to just share a story in 1 second. 1 minute. So Deepali is actually coming from a mechanical engineering background. She is not from an IT background like you. So she's actually a mechanical engineer, and she did work as a mechanical engineer for a few years. And after she transformed into digital marketing, still it's not related to IT like you, right? And but she has a dream of getting into AI, but she want to get into data science. But she started learning a data science, but she could able to land in a job in a startup. But she is not doing a data science stuff, but she is taking care of a deployment of her models over there, but not a full-fledged ML ops. And her salary is also less, and she could able to start she started taking our MLOps specialization program, the same program. And person from complete and non-technical background, with her hard work and with our efforts along with her, so she could able to crack the job, and now she is working as an MLOps engineer. Yes, that's correct. So if Dipali could able to do it, I am really proud of it, but anyone can able to do it. But we do have other testimonials. We do have a testimonials from senior data scientists who could able to get an 100% hike. So go ahead and check the testimonial of Harshad. See Harshad, how what he talks about our training, our hands-on, and more than that, a support that we give, right? And why do you think Citron Technologies is the best company to do this job? So we are there in this industry almost for a decade. So we've been supported by Government of India, incubated in PSG STEP, some other international stages representation. We've been part of AWS Activate program and been represented. And we do traditionally a corporate training. We worked with banks like Royal Bank of Scotland, Minion Labs in Bangalore, some other organizations. organizations in UK. We train corporates, we learn lessons from them. So go ahead and check out this PDF so you can able to get some good insights. Don't listen to me, please listen to the participants what they talk. Okay, so I don't want to waste much of a time. I want to just go ahead and share. Let's have a quick discussion on the curriculum. I'm going to share the same PDF for you. I will definitely, I would say that you're going to love this curriculum. Yeah, because I still not yet showed you, but you will do. Let's go to that. So we have put it the best outside in this world. Okay, so let's get into this. You can get everything from this curriculum, the testimonials that I'm talking about, the curriculum, all this stuff. Let's focus on the curriculum. So totally we do have 15 modules, 1 5. Totally we have 15 module, 1 5. Out of this 15 module, the module number 15th is a new edition. So let's get started. So module number 1, this is where we'll be deep diving into the introduction of MLOps. So what we will be doing here, so we'll be discussing in detail about the challenges that we currently face in every organization, like ML and AI. And we'll be talking about the MLOps motivation and challenges. And more than that, we'll be talking about the differentiation. MLOps is not only the ops. There is something called DevOps. There is something called AI ops, model ops, right? And there is something called LLM ops, FM ops, GitOps. We'll be talking about that. And more interesting part in module number 1, we'll be talking about the actual case studies. We will take a specific real-time case studies of a specific organizations. Then comes in a module number 2. This is where we'll be diving deep into the MLOps stages. We did talked about versioning today. We version a data, we version code, models, features, and containers also. We'll take a look in detail. Testings plays very important role here in MLOps, CI/CD, reproducibility, deployment, and monitoring. And here we discuss about MLOps architectures. I mean, the open source tools like Kubeflow, we discuss Apache Airflow, MLflow, Metaflow, Kedro, ZenML, and CML, and MLrun. And what AWS, Azure, or GCP offers in terms of end-to-end ML pipelines. How does their architecture looks like? Then comes module number 3, Git essentials for MLOps practices. We do cover Git from scratch with hands-on, no theory. Okay, so it will be completely hands-on, and we'll be building a couple of projects with that. Then comes module number 4, CI/CD strategies on all the clouds, AWS, Azure, GCP, not limited to the cloud, with open source tools also like GitHub Actions will be covered here. Okay, so here let's get started with AWS. So all the DevOps tools will be covered on top of AWS with hands-on project. So one project will be done on AWS DevOps, and we'll be covering the complete GCP DevOps project with one hands-on project, understanding GCP DevOps. And we'll be understanding complete Azure DevOps, like Azure boards, pipelines, test plans, artifacts. And we'll be doing infrastructure as a code on Azure, like how to use infrastructure as a code, how to play with ML to deploy the infrastructure. So one project will be built on top of that. So not limited to that, GitHub Actions will be covered, understanding how to use free tools like GitHub Actions to build a free CI/CD pipelines. One project will be built on top of it. So then comes module number 5. So Dockers and Kubernetes. So Dockers and Kubernetes will be covered from the scratch. So yes, so Dockers will be getting into the foundations of Dockers, starting from that understanding networks, volumes, Docker Compass, Swarm, and there are multiple projects that we'll be planning to getting started in Docker. So we'll be learning how to, we'll be getting started with the basics of how to Dockerize a simple software. It can be a software that is built on Node.js. Then we'll be getting into understanding how to build, Dockerize an ML model, deploy it, and run it. Understanding end-to-end ML model deployment with Docker Compass. Then comes Kubernetes. Will be getting started from the scratch, understanding the complete Kubernetes infrastructure, understanding the Kubernetes resources, and the projects will be built on understanding how to deploy ML model, a complete end-to-end model on Kubernetes. Then comes module number 6 is again Kubernetes. We call it as Kubernetes deployment strategies. We are talking about up to industrial standards. What are the different standards, deployment strategies that organization uses to deploy the Kubernetes infrastructure, blue, green deployment strategy, etc. So, and one project will be picking one of a cloud platform here. It can be AWS or Azure or GKE. and we'll be learning how to create a production grade cluster and how to deploy models on top of it. Then comes module number 7, the most interesting module. So here we'll be learning about versioning, data code, experiment, models, monitoring. This is the module where we will be covering ML flow. So there are two projects. First project, you'll be learning how to deploy the ML flow stack. It can be in a cloud, it can be in a VM. And then you'll be learning how to build, train, and deploy an ML model that is used by an ML flow. We use ML flow model registry for that reason. And learning about data version control tools like DVC. So here we'll be using DVC, which is a data version control tool, and you will be learning how to use DVC from the scratch with hands-on and learning how to version any kind of a data. You might be having a data in a cloud, maybe in a premises. How do you do that? So then comes module number 8 is dedicated for feature stores itself. So we will be using pretty much famous open source tool, which I mentioned, a feast. You will be learning how to deploy your own custom built feature store with hands-on project. Then comes module number 9, the most important module, diving deep into MLOps and cloud services like AWS, Azure, and GCP. This is where we will be building this level 4 architecture projects also. The hands-on will be built on all the clouds. Make a note, okay? So we'll be learning how to work with Amazon SageMaker, and we'll be using Amazon SageMaker Studio. A complete end-to-end ML pipelines will be built on Amazon SageMaker Studio with me along with you. So then comes, you'll be learning how Vertex AI works, and one project will be built, a complete end-to-end project on a Vertex AI. Then comes Azure MLOps. You will be learning how to use Azure Machine Learning Studio, and one complete end-to-end ML pipeline will be built on Azure ML Studio. Then comes module number 10. We discussed about Kubeflow. Kubeflow is a pretty much open source tool, and it's a pretty much famous outside. So you'll be learning how Kubeflow works, and we'll be building. I mean, there are two projects here that is combined. The first is all about how to deploy a Kubeflow stack, then creating an end-to-end ML pipelines on top of it. Followed by that, module number 11 is new, but we added it last batches itself. So you'll be learning what's the differentiator here. How do you use MLOps for LLMs? So here we'll be diving deep into the LLM system design. What is the high level view of how you design the complete architecture for LLMs? And there will be a demo will be provided on top of module number 11. So, but hands-on is up to you, because if you want to deploy the large language models, it will cost you so much. You cannot deploy it on your PC. You need to deploy it on a cloud. But it's up to you whether you want to do that practice along with you. Then comes module number 12, understanding model monitoring on all the clouds, AWS, Azure, GCP. So here we'll be picking one of a cloud, and we'll be also doing a model monitoring like data drift, quality issues, data quality analysis. So module number 13, where we are also including commercial tools, as I mentioned, because I obviously we have given a top-notch curriculum like AWS, clouds and open source, but we'll also touch upon, let's say, the commercial tools outside in the market, and there will be a demo will be also provided on that. Then comes module number 14, post deployment challenges, the last module. So here you'll be learning a lot of different challenges that we do have after deploying the models into production, and there will be, again, we'll be using a very famous open source tool which we call it as Evidently AI. It's a one universal tool for monitoring everything, whether you want to monitor the quality of a data, drift, concept, or maybe you want to monitor the biases, you can use Evidently AI. So one project will be built on that. And here comes module number 15. So the entire curriculum is still module number 14, but module number 15 is a new addition. But module number 15, we would be saying that it's a may know tools. All the must know tools we do cover till module number 14. So module number 15 is a self-paced. It's not live sessions, but self-paced. So what we do here, we cover some of the additional open source tools that's outside in the market. We do cover Jenkins here, and two projects will be built on Jenkins. But if you carefully make a note here, whatever you have in the module number 14 will be started using here. So we'll be using Jenkins here, but along with Jenkins, we'll be using Dockers and ML flow to build a complete end-to-end ML pipeline. It's a combination of what you learned on top. Similarly, you'll be getting started with Apache Airflow with hands-on project. We'll be also covering Apache Airflow with two projects here. Similarly, we have learned the production grade Kubernetes clusters on top of AWS, Azure, GCP, because at the end of the day, Kubernetes is exactly same, whether it's on AWS or Azure, GCP. But we have an additional topic here where you can also learn GKE, how to launch a cluster, how to deploy a model, similar to on Azure Kubernetes infrastructure. And we also cover a Terraform here, especially for the infrastructure deployment process. But in till module number 14, we'll be discussing about a lot of other concepts, Azure DevOps for infrastructure deployment, or maybe GitHub Actions for infrastructure deployment. Then comes Argo workflow. Argo workflow is an alternative for Kubeflow, but Argo workflow also we get to cover here. So this is the robust curriculum that we do have. And if you scroll down further, you will see the skills that you're going to master. So these are the skills that I also expect you to put it on your resume, right? The key tools that we do cover, all these tools that you see in this slide, I mean, this PDF will be talking throughout. So you can also check the pricing details here. And if you scroll down further, as I mentioned, you can access all the testimonial. Here is the Deepali testimonial. Please go ahead and listen. Some other testimonials. Also, I would recommend you to DM, because some of the testimonials we don't publish in public. So we share it. If you're asked, you can also listen to that. Yeah, saying this, you know that you love it. So saying that, let's quickly take a look of what happened with our model. Then I will open a session for Q&A. You can talk to me directly. Let's have a quick chit chat. It can be anything that you want to discuss. Okay, so let me just go to my AWS terminal. You know that I'm back to my SageMaker. Let's see what happened with my model. So still you cannot see the model as a point, right? I will go ahead and quickly refresh here. So here we go. You can see in this table, you have a model called MLOps demo class 1 staging. The model got deployed for staging environment. So now if I open this model, you can see the version 1 of a model is deployed to the production. So it is an in-service and it is running on a machine called ml.n5.xlodge, and it is serving all the traffic, the 100% traffic. If I go to this test inference, right? So this is the test inference option that I can able to use, the inbuilt option to invoke a model. I mentioned this is a model that we use to predict an agent of an abalone, right? Can we test it? Yep. So here is a data set. Okay, you can see this is my data set. This is a sample data set that I'm going to input to my model to make a predictions. So here I will select the right content type. I'm using text libsvm because my data type is that. So this is my input data. So this is actually the features of my abalone data, actually, folks. Okay. So what you need to do, let's say all I'm going to do, I'm going to hit send request. Once I hit send request, the request will be sent, and here I will get the response. So you can able to see towards right side of my screen, you could able to see the results. Let me just zoom it a bit. You can able to see that body content type invoke production variant. The body is basically the prediction of an age of an abalone. So output that I received here, it says 9.37 is the age of an abalone. So this is the example of how I invoking my ML model in a built-in UI. But here from this point, your developers or front-end developers, they can create a web application to deploy a model to the production. But how do I deploy a model to production now? I have shown you how to deploy a model to, let's say, to your staging environment. But how do I deploy a model to production? To deploy a model to production, we use DevOps tools on top of AWS. This entire SageMaker project that you're checking out on my screen, which is built by using code pipelines in AWS. Code pipelines is a DevOps tools on top of AWS. So we need to go to code pipelines. If I hit refresh here, so you could able to see there will be a one pipeline. It says in progress. So this is actually waiting for my approval to deploy the production model. So I'm not going to deploy it. Before that, I'm going to share a links to you folks. Okay. So I'm going to share a link in a chat window. The first link is where you can able to if you click on the first link, you will be going to the registration page where you can able to register for our program actually. I mean, let me just click on the first link. If you go to the first link, you'll be going to the registration page. There's a registration page. So here, if you scroll down, you can check out the complete curriculum that we discussed. Yep. And you can also scroll down. You can check the testimonials that I mentioned. You can listen to that. You can also click register now here. So you'll be greeted with the form. So go ahead and fill this form. You can mention your email address, the details, all this stuff. And once you click next, So you'll be redirected to the page where you can able to pick your favorite plan that you like. So whether, let's say for example, one second. So let me just open it in a Brave. Yeah, here we go. Yep. So once you click register now, so you'll be redirected to the registration page, and here you can go ahead and you can pick the favorite plan that you like. So whether you're interested in basic plan, what you get in basic plan, you can find here the advance. And if you're looking for, if you're coming from an international, I mean, if you're not from India, you can pick the prices in dollars, a basic, advance, and advance plus. And let's say all you need to do, if you're interested in advance, go ahead and register for basic. If you click that, so you'll be greeted with the Razorpay registration page. We are officially official verified partners from Razorpay. You'll get a tick mark. So you can able to pick your favorite payment platform. If you're looking for EMI, we do support EMI on all the major credit cards. You can pick that. Debit card options are there, but debit card EMI won't may not be work sometimes for you, because debit card EMI is option that will be provided by your bank, and you can also pick UPIs, all those stuff. Okay, yeah, that's it pretty much. I will be finally showing how to deploy this ML model to production. So then I will ask all your question, including Amit Kumar. Okay, so I know that you asked the question. So I will show you quickly how to deploy the model to production. So you can see this is the DevOps pipeline that is running, and this is the DevOps workflow. Source where I'm getting a code, build is where I'm building it, deployment staging. And you can see here, in order to deploy this ML model to production, all I need to do, I click on this review button. So if I go ahead and click review, I will get a same portal. Before portal that I got is how to deploy this model to staging, right? I get a similar portal. So here I will click approve. I will say all test, and I will simply click submit. That's it. So now you will see that my approval is done. And if you go to deployment endpoint page in a SageMaker Studio, in some time you should able to see that your model will get deployed to the production. Yeah, you can see that right now. It says MLOps demo class 1 prod. So my production model is getting deployed. So it will take some time. It says creating. Okay, that's it. So once the model is deployed, again I can go to the test and I can test the model here. Awesome, right? So this is all what we have for demo. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to mute your mics. You can talk to me directly. So I have unmuted mics. So go ahead, you can ask your question in a chat window, or you can also go ahead and unmute your mic. Let's have a happy conversation. Go ahead. Okay, so someone is asking a question. Malia, sorry if I'm pronouncing your names wrong. So, do we have payment options in installments? Definitely, yes, we do have a payment option in installments. So, I mean, so you can able to pick EMI options. Let me just go to that portal once again, folks. Okay, here we go. Yeah. So if you go to the payment option, so we do have EMI options. Yeah. So let me just click some numbers. But please make sure that so if you go to these EMI options, let's say you can able to split the payment anyhow you want. Let's say whether you want to go for a 3 months installment, so they want to go for 6 months. We do provide maximum of 24 months installments. So you can pick which that is the one that is comfortable for you. We can pick it. Okay. And but please make sure that the offers that we are talking, in case if you want to be part of this free upgradation offer that I mentioned, it's only available as of right now for the 4 seats. I believe should be available for you plus but make sure that you block your seats as soon as possible. If you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to me post this hands on, I mean, so post this demo session. Please go ahead and dial the number that I mentioned, that I shared in a chat window already. So these are the details that I shared. Anyway, here's a phone number of mine that you can able to use. So I'm going to share these links once again in a chat window. The first link is for registration, the second for downloading a curriculum, the third link where you can able to download the free ebooks as I promised, and below is the contact details of mine. So I'm going to share it once again in your chat window, folks. Okay. So please go You can also unmute your mic. You can also talk to me. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to answer a few questions in the meantime in a chat window. Uh, Nitin, okay, Nitin asking a question: how much Python expertise that is needed? It's a good question. Okay, I'm going to answer that. Okay, so let's say, do you need a Python expertise? Definitely not. Let me just mention this. So consider that if you are a data scientist, let's say if you're a data scientist, if you're going to ask this question, Python expertise, I would definitely say you need in-depth knowledge of Python and statistics and problems, but not for others. Let's say you're coming from a DevOps background. Let's say you're coming from any other software testing background, software development background. Having some basics would be more than enough for you. So, and again, there's another announcement. People's who also sign up for a program, sometimes they ask a question. They say that, Sharat, I'm not coming from data science background. There's no need for you to coming from a data science background. But if you say that my Python is not so much good, but will I get any materials that I can able to practice? Not just the materials. See, as Cyber Technologies, we do have other programs where you can learn Python, and if you're interested, you can also learn data science. But you don't want to make another investment, right? So there is something called free resources that we provide for the first 10 registrations. So what is this free resources? Free resources are additional materials. It's a pre-recorded sessions where you can able to learn a Python basics, and if you're interested, you can also learn data science basics. But this is completely out of a scope. You don't need to be a data scientist to take this program. So that's how it's going to work. Yeah. So Praveen is asking a question. Yes, will you be sharing the slides? Yes, all the slides, the recordings, the materials throughout the program will be shared to you, Praveen. 100% yes. Someone is asking, is a Vertex AI is part of a curriculum? What type of application will be building through Vertex AI in GCP? Yes. See, consider that it's a good question. So someone is asking, so do we have Vertex AI in our curriculum? 100% yes. Let me just open that curriculum again. Let me just validate that for you. So let's say if I go to the curriculum section, yes. If you go ahead and if you check in a module number 9, we have Vertex AI. You can see that GCP Vertex AI. So what kind of application that you're going to build here? Okay, so there's a question. There's a common question that is asked by every person here. Okay, so let me just try to clarify a few things here that would really help you. So this is a purely an MLOps program. You know that, right? So because this is a completely an MLOps program, this is not a data science program. We don't cover data science here. We don't cover Python programming in this session. So it's anything related to MLOps we do get to cover here. And the kind of a projects that we're going to build, as I mentioned already, there are maturity level projects that I'm talking about. We build level 4 architecture projects, level 3, level 2, for example. So all these projects will be built during a live session. And the kind of a level 4 projects or level 3 or level 2 projects that we are building should satisfy any kind of a project that you're talking about. Consider that. So tomorrow, who knows that you might work in a consider that you might be working in a financial sector, you might be working in a medical sector, you might work in some kind of a e-commerce sector. So maybe you want to build a computer vision based model, you want to deliver a large language model, you want to deliver a gen AI model, you want to deliver an NLP model. So your models can be different, but pipelines will be exactly same. So the kind of a pipelines that we build, right, it can be a level 4 pipeline, could fit in any kind of a model. So consider that you want to build large language model. It's a deep learning model, large language model, right? So whether you want to deliver a regression, a classification model, classical machine learning models, basically. So you can able to deliver any kind of a model on top of it. So what it matters when it comes to the MLOps, the pipelines, what kind of a tool, what kind of a version control tool, what kind of a model registry that you're using, right? So that's what exactly what it matters. Okay, so let me just go to the next question. So Vishal asking, do we have hands-on along with the session? We definitely need subscription on all the clouds. A good question. So what Vishal is asking, if I want to use cloud platforms like AWS or Azure or GCP, I need a subscription. Definitely not. Cloud platforms won't work in a subscription. It can be AWS or Azure or GCP. There's no subscription. They use a business model called pay as you go. See, every cloud today, it can be AWS or Azure or GCP, they provide something called a free trial. Free trial. So AWS, I'm sorry, like AWS, Azure, and GCP, they provide a free trial. So AWS provides a free trial for 1 year, and Azure and GCP, they provide the credits for us to get started. So this free trial that we do have, it would be more than enough for the learning purposes. So consider that you are here to learn, not to run a production work, right? So this free credits will be more than enough to learn, not just in a live session. Post completion of a live session, you can still use these credits to learn. So Rakshita asking, so won't MLOps need Prometheus or Grafana? So Prometheus and Grafana is more of a data visualization tools. Yes, we'll be also learning and exploring a various different data visualization tools, and we'll be also talking about Prometheus and Grafana. Okay, so let me just check few more questions. If you have questions, folks, you can just simply unmute and you can talk to me. You know if you're talking already, if I'm not audible. So I believe if you're uh, I should be audible. Please go ahead and you can also talk to me. Microphone is good. Okay, so let me just check a few more questions that you might have. Let me just. So Vamsi is asking, so for advanced plan, right? So Vamsi, if you, for example, if you're from India, if you can able to pay in INR, you can pay it. So if you're comfortable with dollars, you can go with dollars. If you're comfortable with INR, you can also go with INR. Okay, that's good. So Vamsi is asking.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so this course will go like it's on every weekend, right? So what about the Christmas weekend and like those weekends also? Is it going to be there, New Year's and all of that? Or
On a
like are
New
there?
Year,
Yeah.
on a New Year, we won't be having a session. So I believe the Christmas won't be on the weekends actually, but on the Christmas day or maybe on a New Year day, we won't be having live sessions basically. Yeah.
Okay, so that will be postponed, right? Those two, most likely.
Yeah. So on weekends, if we have a Christmas or a New Year, that will be definitely postponed. Yeah. So that, I mean,
Okay.
so it's all about the voting. Like let's say for people's need, okay, the holiday, we'll see how many people vote for that. So based on that, so if we have a Christmas on the weekend or New Year on that, so on that day specifically on a any, let's say if you have a Diwali on that specific day, definitely on a weekend. If you have a Diwali, we won't be having a session, not an issue. So yeah, that's how it's gonna work.
Okay,
So
got it.
let
And like say supposing any given student they can't attend it on that particular weekend for whatever reason, can
yeah.
you like watching the recordings on Monday, will that be enough?
Okay, yeah. So here how it works. Consider that this is a usual thing, right? So consider that people who miss the session on a weekends, what happens? They see usually we share recordings on a Monday, but few folks they make a request. If they need, let's say they might be missing a session on Saturday, but they want to go through this session which has happened on Saturday. They want to come back on Sunday. If they make a request, we share the recordings on a Sunday itself. They go through and they come back, right? Or let's say if we're going through on a weekdays, and more what you need is a support, right? So what we want to assure that you need a support. Consider that you're going through the recordings, you have some bugs and questions, maybe you're going through on Monday or Tuesday or Friday. So but we have a debugging sessions on every 7 p.m. ist. It's not mandate that you need to join on a 7 p.m. ist itself, but if you're going through on a session, you got a bug, you can just ping me because you have my number directly. So and if we are available on a mutual understanding, we can connect and we can help you to clear your doubts or bugs that you do have. So that's how it's going to work.
Okay. And like all of this, is there any online portal or something or some website we're using, or like is it going to be on like a WhatsApp group or like Slack or something?
I mean, for the communication, we use different channels. The recordings will be shared on our portal, not on a WhatsApp. So definitely, you'll be using your registered email addresses to log in and watch, and for downloading the materials, all this stuff. For the communication, we use various different channels. So primarily, we use WhatsApp because you know that if I put a message in a Slack, something that you don't read it because what we
Yeah.
do in the WhatsApp group, because we do throw a lot of announcements. So what do you mean by announcement? Each and every week there will be some prerequisites that you need to fulfill. So consider that this program is not some kind of a Python tutorial session where I'm teaching Python, right? So because it's a more of a cloud, so the kind of a projects, you don't believe this level 4 architecture projects folks that we build, it will take 8 hours to build. So we will be started building a hands-on Saturday, it will end on Sunday. Consider that we use multiple tools, we use DevOps tools, we use MLOps tools, we use open source tools combined together. So lot of things might go wrong, right, while we build a project basically, right? So definitely in that particular scenario you need a support for that particular reason. So yeah, so what we want to assure is this particular support that I'm talking about basically. Yep, I guess.
Understood.
Yeah, I answered your question. Yep. Okay, so I guess one of a person has write the question. Malik, yeah, please go ahead, Malik, you can talk.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had some calls in between. I just stepped out. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, my query is see, I have around 14, 15 years experience. Okay, I
Mm-hmm.
worked on initially with Java backend extensively around 12 years and data science, not a data science, big data project. In the early,
Good.
probably in this year 17, 2017, I worked in two projects, two projects in finance domain and data, big data, two projects I have worked. But again, I
Okay.
moved back to Java, extensively Java backend, front end also
Okay.
I worked. But in
Okay.
the 1.5 year back, I worked on a cloud team head, like a leading around 15 members team, DevOps
Okay.
and a complete cloud infrastructure. Azure
Okay.
extensively, I worked around 2 years on Azure, Red Hat OpenShift, and
Okay.
2 years. With
Okay.
this, no, I know end-to-end the complete automation of DevOps. Okay,
Makes sense. Okay. Hmm.
but somehow I'm not enjoying the work, whatever, because I came from a development background.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, I'm again last couple of months I'm doing a freelancing work on a backend Java backend side, not on a
Mm-hmm.
full time.
Okay.
Just no, I need a one-on-one. Probably if you can, this is the number I can reach on. Like I have a certain
Yeah,
queries,
sure, sure, sure. Please call me in a number that I already shared. Let me just share it again. I've shared the message in the chat window. You can find the two numbers. You can reach out to me. Definitely, we can have a call. So I will also give you some insights. There will be a lot of DevOps engineers here because we do have DevOps engineers in every batches. I would say 40% of
Mhm.
crowd is them. So DevOps engineers
Yeah,
can be
but
the
one
perfect
thing,
fit.
Sharath, just I'm not no again DevOps engineer. It is like if you work some
No,
6 months.
I'm not talking
Yeah,
about
six
the
months.
defined role of
One minute.
DevOps.
Sorry to interrupt. I just have
Yeah,
my feeling. I need to. If you work six
please, please.
months, okay. I
Hmm.
worked in Sun
Go ahead.
Solaris, Linux, multiple OSs. But after working
Mm-hmm.
6 months to 8 months, yeah, depending upon the no, if you fix on to some client or some work or some company you join. Yeah, if I join like a one startup company or something or one, all I worked in a big size companies only. After working in
Mm-hmm.
a company, again, whatever DevOps work, no, it will be monotonous. Same work, same thing. You will keep on doing it.
Obviously,
Once you
yeah.
do 6 months, later on you don't see any much challenge. Same work, same kind of routine things. It will be, you'll keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's where like
That's
a
correct.
even after a certain no certain range, you don't see much your package increase, salary increase, nothing. Max,
Mm-hmm.
max you can go up to DevOps engineers in the most of the things, most of them except solution architects, maximum
Mm-hmm.
salaries. I want to speak what are the truth. Okay, after 20-25 lakhs, no, 25 lakhs, the maximum packages, most of the DevOps engineers they are getting.
Got it.
Later, no, they'll be like stuck in the probably the kind of work what they will do.
Got it. See, like when we talk about DevOps, definitely DevOps is not new in the market. It's been there in a decade already. So DevOps market is definitely crowded. There's no doubt about it, right? So, and obviously, some of the things that you mentioned is what you need to do, right? So you can look for cloud DevOps and architect kind of a position. That's where it adds up a more value. right? Otherwise, if you want to go with the trend and you want to be part of what's going to be biggest next in the market is AI. So that's where DevOps engineers can play a very important role here. So here you said, okay, I mean, you're doing the traditional, I mean, you're doing the copy paste work, right? That basically you're doing the same daily work, what you mentioned. But here in MLOps, there are different challenges, right? So MLOps and DevOps are not exactly same. So in day-to-day life, there are different. Each and every organization structure is different. They want to use different tools. They have different challenges here. So the kind of a metrics that we stick to in a data science AI world is completely different than that. So DevOps is still DevOps today, but in AI is going to take a different shape tomorrow. We are talking about traditional machine learning models like email spam detection, traditional models. Till today, we are talking about deep learning models, transformers, large language models, Gen AI. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about AGIs. It's going to take a different shape, and for that different shape, the operation stage is going to also change accordingly. So I guess this could be a competitive thing that you might be also looking for. So
Okay.
yes, and today, and I would like to also ask a question. Someone did also ask, what is an average salary for an MLOps engineers? This is the data is not I made up. This is a data from sixfigure.com. You can also go ahead and cross verify it. It's a data from March. It's an average salary for MLOps engineer, someone who has a 2 to 3 years of experience. According to
Mhm.
MNC standards, what Amazon pays, Google pays is 26 lakhs, right? This is the real data, right?
Okay. Okay.
So, and we do have a participant story from ourselves. We do have candidates placing not in one position, more than 2 to 3 positions. I have a lead right now. He is a person working as a lead MLOps engineer, so now he's being paid of a 40 lakhs per annum. So he's taking care of 4 data scientists, and he's an MLOps lead MLOps engineer basically. So things are possible. So where you hit is the most, I mean, where you're going to hit is the most important thing. Okay, so thank you. I will be going with Amit Kumar. Hey, Amit, please go ahead and you
Yeah,
can
one
talk.
last question. Sorry to interrupt, Sarath. I'm sorry. This is like a whatever the batch. Just I don't know whether I'm whatever I'm getting. I'm asking. Uh, is this like a what is the batch number, or probably how many batches you finished so far?
So we've been there in a market almost for a decade. So if I want to compare, I just go need to
No,
come a
no.
lot of
About
numbers here.
MLOps alone.
So I'm talking about MLOps. It could be probably a 10th or 15th batch that we are having. So
Okay.
we do also do a corporate training. I mean,
Mhm.
we have trained banks like Royal Bank of Scotland. We have done along with the data science plus MLOps work. We help them in learning a skill as well as a prototyping, a consulting work that we have done.
Okay.
So
Okay. Yeah.
okay,
Okay. Thank you.
so say that yeah, Amit, I will go with you. Amit Kumar, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good. The session was nice. Thanks for the session.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, as one of the participant also said, the salary range for the present MLOps also gets stuck in some limits. So if I'm existing experience with overall industrial experience of 15 plus years. So how it is
Mhm.
useful for me to understand the core technicals, because being at leadership position, I don't need to
Okay.
execute MLOps, right? So wanted to know how it will be useful.
Okay, so the first thing is your 15 years of experience comes from where? So consider that you're already coming from some kind of AI background. So let's say you have a 15 years of experience, what kind of a positions that you can work? So maybe the lead positions in MLOps, the architect kind of a positions in MLOps. So it doesn't mean that you don't get to execute MLOps. What do you mean by executing MLOps is different word. So there's too many things here. So consider that there is a data engineer who will be bringing a data to your organization. There's a data scientist who will be taking a data from data engineer. He will be building a model, and this model will be taken and deployed by ML engineer. You'll, let's say if you are working in a lead positions in MLOps, you will be having a lot of junior MLOps engineers who will be working and building an automation. As a senior, you will be get to decide. Consider that which cloud that you're going to use. Consider that maybe you want to use AWS or combination of AWS and Azure. Maybe you want to use open source tools. So you get to decide what tool to be used in this organization, you will be taking care of cost optimization. So this cost optimization, the scalability, the word scalability may not end one day, right? You will be keep on, as an architect, you will be keep on hunting for a next tool that you can able to implement in your architecture that can scale down your price, your operation cost, which can able to scale up your let's say business, right? Those things will be keep on will be done by this architects, the lead position peoples. It's not that you don't do a data science, because you have a data scientist to do a data science, but you'll be taking care of the infrastructure, the architecture, the deployments, all those stuff.
Okay, okay, understood, sir. Thank you.
Perfect. So please go ahead. If who is the next person on to talk, let's spend some time, folks. Yeah, go ahead. You can just raise a hand, you can directly start talking. So we have Adarsh. Hey Adarsh, please go ahead. Yeah.
Hey, sir. I just have a quick question with respect to, because you mentioned, the free subscription we can, play around with, any cloud, right? So, but when we register with any free subscription, we have to always give our credit card details and everything, right?
Definitely yes, because if you want to create a cloud accounts, you need to provide your card details. But why
Mhm.
do you provide credit cards? You don't want to provide credit cards. Even in our organization, we use debit cards. So you can use debit cards itself to create AWS or Azure GCP account today. So again, when you use debit cards, you don't have this auto payment option enabled. So you will be paying, you will be putting your OTP or something to enable the authentication. So I would definitely recommend you to use debit cards itself. Credit cards can be a second option.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And in terms of, I have another question basically, but that is like very specific, so I don't want to, consume everyone time here. Maybe I'll get in touch with you separately
Yep.
for career path. Yeah.
Sure, definitely, Adarsh. Anytime, please feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, so I'm going to answer a few questions in the chat window. If a cloud provides these services, what are the use of? So Vishnu is asking a question. So if a cloud provides this of services, what's the use of MLOps team? Okay, probably Vishnu. I guess your understanding is a bit different. So I'm talking about AWS or Azure or GCP. They offer a tools, not a solution. So they provide Amazon SageMaker Studio. GCP offers Vertex AI. Amazon, say Azure offers Azure Machine Learning Studio. They provides a tool, but whether you're going to what you're going to build with that tool is up to you. So what kind of a MLOps pipeline, what you have in your pipeline, what tool, what model, it's up to you. What stage, how many stage, whether you want staging environment, whether you want production environment, is up to you to decide actually. So will you be covering infrastructure as a code tools like Terraform? Yes, Vamsi, we do cover Terraform. It's part of module number 15 as a self-paced videos. So a person called Cookie, I mean, I don't know whether it's a full name, but it's a good name. Says, as a data scientist, I would like to learn MLOps further. Can you recommend how to go with that? And how to hard? Okay, how hard it will be? I don't think so. Like the one good example when you say it's hard, maybe I will also include one more term. How hard is to learn MLOps? How hard is to learn? How hard to get job? I would say it's really easy. Obviously, really easy when if you put your 100% dedication, make sure you attend all the live session, you bug me always to ask a question, and use the support to prepare your resumes and get a support in preparing for an interview. When people's like Dipali, I did mention an example of Dipali who is coming from a complete non-technical background. If she can do it, everyone in this particular session can do it. So please go ahead and listen to a Dipali testimonial. It is there in a PDF. Also check out Asha's testimonial, would help. So Asha's testimonial may not be there, but please DM me, I will share that to you. Perfect. So Zanib, I mean, I don't know whether I'm pronouncing your name correct. So I did answer that particular question, how hard it is to learn MLOps. It's not hard. So you will be also getting a recordings of this today's demo session by tomorrow. But please check the offer details, because if you want to sign up, if you want to get this offers, so the offers are only available for just 4 registrations, and this offers will be valid till 19th of this month. So you, I mean, if you go ahead and register for basic, you'll be getting advance. If you go ahead and register for advance, you'll be getting advance plus. Simple. and you can pick an EMI option if you need. We do have an EMI option, and if you're using USD to pay, you can go for a PayPal EMI option. You can split the entire payment into 4 different options. That should also work for you. And so we are looking for hardly at 20 to 25 peoples in a batch. And we won't be encouraging you to register at least 1 week before the session, because uh, at least 1 week before the session, what we will be doing, we'll be started sharing a prerequisites to be fulfilled, the softwares, the tools that you need to install, some of the tickets that you will be creating. So yes, so that will be a bit hard to sign up at that particular time. But you need to be, I mean, you can still sign up and start on a 1 hour before the session, but the prerequisites does matter. But yeah, you can, but I would recommend to easy onboarding. Please make sure you complete your registration as soon as possible. If you have any further questions, use this opportunity to clear up so I can answer next question. If you have more questions to ask, you want to connect post the session, please use my phone number. Let me just share the links once again. You can find my phone number there. Please reach out to me. So if you have a, Nitin is asking a question, if you have a basic understanding of Python, it would be more than enough, Nitin. Like if you understand logics, the loops, all the stuff would be more than enough actually. I guess someone else raised the hand. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your names wrong. It is Mehli. Sorry, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, Mahalia.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a question. Right now, I'm a SRE engineer, and I'm trying to get into either data
Mhm.
engineer or data scientist or something of the sort. So, taking the your training that you're offering, MLOps, I mean, would that help me get into? Because I haven't done it before. I mean, I have a background in IT, obviously, but I've done some database in the past, like
Got it.
on-prem, but I'm trying to get into cloud, like a data engineer or data scientist. I've been doing some training as well, like Python, like on the data engineer side. I've been doing some AWS, like like Redshift and all that. So if I take the training that you're offering, would I kind of like expedite the process, like for me to become a scientist or machine learning, something of the sort?
Exactly. Yes. So consider that this is not a data science program. So this is not a program to become a data scientist. Data science is a different ball game. So if you want to become a data scientist, if you need to have an in-depth knowledge of Python programming, the statistics, the algorithms. So it takes a lot of time, obviously, when it comes to a data science. But when it comes to MLOps, here, can you become ML engineer? Definitely yes, folks. There are two options. Consider that you are coming from not a data science background. You might be a data engineer, SRE, as you mentioned. You can be a DevOps engineer. I would recommend the first priority. You can apply for MLOps engineers, or you can also apply for ML engineering. ML engineering does works for you, Maliha. Or you can also apply for MLOps engineering. So if you want to become a data scientist, yes, you can able to become, but data science is a different ballgame. But still, the
Okay.
question is, don't you need data science for MLOps? 100%. You need to know MLOps more than anyone else as a data scientist. Still, if you're going to become a data scientist, if you
But
are a
can I
data,
become an MLOps without being, I mean, a data scientist?
so can you just come again, please? I lost
Can
you.
I become an MLOps engineer without the
Yes, without
background
being
of
a
data
data
scientist?
scientist, yes, you can become MLOps engineer without being data scientist. That's what exactly I'm trying to say. So here, DevOps engineers who are coming from DevOps background, they can become data scientists. Sorry, they can become MLOps engineers. People who are coming from software engineering background, they can become MLOps engineers. They don't need data science, because there will be a separate person in your organization who is called as data scientist, who will be doing a data science works, and there will be someone called MLOps engineer who will be doing an automation work, basically. So that's how it's
So,
going to work.
okay, so essentially for the MLOps engineer is more like a DevOps, basically, like doing the
Maybe we
pipeline,
cannot compare.
CI/CD.
We cannot compare, because DevOps and MLOps are different. But we can say in software engineer,
Excuse
we
me.
call they are DevOps engineers. In AI industry, we call it as MLOps engineers. That's correct.
Right.
But the
Okay.
roles and responsibilities what MLOps engineers they have is way more than DevOps engineers.
So for this training, do you touch like things like ETL and stuff like that?
So ETL, so yes, we do in Apache Airflow. I mean, this is not a data engineering program. We don't cover data engineering here, like ETL, all this stuff. So, but yes, we do cover Apache Airflow as part of module number 15, a self-paced videos. There you learn how to work with Apache Airflow. There is a hands-on. You'll be learning how to create an ETL pipelines with Apache Airflow, which we use it for MLOps pipelines. Yes, we do touch upon that, but it is out of a scope.
Okay, got you. All right, thank you.
Okay, that's great. That's awesome. Yeah, please let me know, folks. I'm going to spare a few more minutes. If you have any further questions, you can unmute your mic. You can raise your hand so you can get started. So here you can able to see this, Malia. So building a scheduled ETL data pipelines with Apache Airflow, but it is out of a scope. It's designed for understanding Apache Airflow because the focus is on the project number 7 here, building a scheduled end-to-end ML pipelines with Apache Airflow. Yep. So please go ahead and download your curriculum and make sure you block your seats as soon as possible because definitely we do have only we're looking for somewhere around 20 seats. That's it. So yeah. So because 85% of the time that you're going to spend here is a more of an hands-on. Having more people would not work. Yeah, 20 to 25. Please go ahead and sign up as soon as possible. If you have further questions, please reach out to me. Okay, so let me just see if I didn't answer any of a question. I'm going to check and I'm going to answer that. So we're talking about there's a question from Babu. So I mean, just logging into Azure or creating a workspace and creating a job is not an MLOps. It's more of combination of DevOps tools and combination of Azure machine learning workspace and building a pipelines and running the model deployment pipelines. A lot of things comes into that picture, Babu. Okay, let me just check if I have any further questions below. Okay, so how Amit is asking a question, how is a work-life balance in this particular role, right? Is I would say is as usual like any IT industry, Amit. So MLOps is not a different IT industry. It's as usual like any IT industry, I would say. So no issues, Vamsi. I believe I answered your question. Nitin, let's say, for example, you signed up for now a batch and consider that for a situation you couldn't able to join the some of the live sessions in November batch. Yes, if you're part of advanced plan or advanced plus plan, you'll be given another chance to retake in January batch. It's a right next batch. The only reason why we are providing this bonus reattendance opportunity, the twice the chance to take a live sessions, in order to make sure that you don't miss anything from this program. So again, we don't give a chance to sign to take this next batch anytime that you want because the market is going to be crowded. All we motivate our participants here, learn fast and get into the market faster. If you miss the live sessions in November batch, you'll be given another chance in the next batch if you're part of advanced or advanced plus plan. So today you have an opportunity by signing up just for a basic plan. You will get an advanced plan. That means you'll be getting a twice the chance to take the live sessions. I mean, you just go ahead and register for basic plan today, but you will be getting an advanced plan. That means you'll be getting one more chance again to take the complete live sessions from the scratch in next batch. Okay. So Yogi is asking, can I switch career? Definitely yes. Uh, Again, I would refer Dipali here. So she is coming from a non-technical background. She can do it. So you're from technical background, definitely. So this could be the good choice. So Malia is asking a question. Do we have a payment installments? Yes, Malia, let's say if you're from India, you can use EMI options, or if you're going to use dollars, you can use PayPal installments. PayPal by default, if you have a PayPal in your country, they offer by default 4 installments. You can split the entire payment into 4 installments. I believe it comes with no interest. Okay, I believe I have answered all the questions. Okay, so it's time. No, I don't think so. You'll be working 24/7. That could be exceptional, Vishal or Nitin. So these exceptions will be there in always in every industry. Okay, so I will be quickly showing the screen where I have deployed my ML model. Here we go. Because yeah, so you can see that my model is in service. That is MLOps demo class 1 production model. In the same way as usual, I can just go ahead and invoke the model that is running in a production. So I need to just select text libsvm, send a request. I get output here. I will get the same output. The age will be somewhere near to that 9.3. So that's it. This is all what we have for today's session, folks. Let me know if you have any further questions. Please go ahead and listen to our testimonials. So our testimonials, the participants does talk for us. So I don't know, like if I have enough time, I could have played one of the testimonial. But yeah, I'm going to just play one of a testimonial. I cannot put Dipali's because it's around 15 minutes. So we'll just simply see if I can able to play the Rahul's testimonial. What's up? Yeah, hi, Chara. We brought you here today. Yeah.
So maybe you can just give some idea about what is the company that you applied first, so then we can talk about the ML job role, what they're asked for you.
So I apply for the AIML role for artificial slash machine learning engineer.
Okay.
So there also cloud part also there. So they require cloud part and Docker. So they asked me question related to Docker.
Okay.
Kubernetes. And on basis of AWS, they asked me the full CI/CD pipeline, how it works, and how one question is how we stop CI/CD pipeline. What is the procedure for stopping? Is it possible manually or not? So that type of or they said me how you deploy from dev to production. How can you deploy? Such type of question they asked me that interview. So I give all the questions with the help of your teaching on this, sir.
Perfect. I'm really happy for that. Okay. So I'm really happy for that. That's good. So what's the company name that you mentioned?
So SA Technology.
SA Technology. So based out of?
In Mumbai.
Mumbai, perfect. So you're also from Mumbai, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
that's good. So now you're asking questions. So now you have a 20 days of time.
Yes.
So the joining day, you're asking, okay, can I able to apply for other job roles like MLOps engineer or something?
Yes,
definitely. Please do apply. So even if you get a better package, yes, why not, right? So you can also look for the better opportunity. So please go ahead, as you usually do, apply for those jobs and share.
Okay, so when it comes to Rahul, he got an offer, but he has a time for joining date. Can he apply for more jobs? Yeah, obviously, why not, right? So there are a lot of testimonials. So participants does talk for us. So here is Asha's testimonial. You can also listen to that. Asha's testimonial is not available. It's the latest one I collected yesterday. So yeah. So that's it. So let's get started, Asha. Maybe so my participants will be. I don't know. I cannot grab this because they are focusing on AWS. So I mean, I'm talking about the time that you started for interview preparation until that. I just want to know this time.
45 days. The reason being,
Okay, that's good. Okay.
No, I completed our course. Our specialization.
Yeah.
And after that, what happened is like I resigned my job in Bangalore and I relocated to Hyderabad.
Got it.
So I set up my family here and I started brushing up my knowledge.
Got it.
And going through all our recordings and noting down, and we connected now and then and clarified those doubts. And parallelly started applying. So it took me like 1 month to circulate my resume and getting calls. So 3 weeks is hardly, I can say continuously gave the interviews.
Makes sense. Like then I would say resume preparation once is done, it took only 3 weeks for you to get placed in this job, along with these 3 different offers that you're talking about. I guess it's a really good deal. I guess like it's That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's really awesome. I'm really happy again, as I mentioned. Thanks for sharing this detail. But I just want to talk about our program as you mentioned, and I just want to ask, like, that you mentioned what's the percentage of hike that you got. So maybe for the participants' sake, how what is the percentage of hike?
Around 40%.
That's good. Thanks for. Okay, so when it comes to Harshad, like, that, so like it hardly took 3 weeks for him to get placed in a job. I mean, before that, he had a 1 month preparation of preparing a resume, getting the calls, all those stuff, right? So yes, he's already coming from a data science background anyway. So, but we do have another testimonial of a senior data scientist who got an 100% hike. So there are scenarios like that, right? So go ahead and listen to all the testimonial. So take an action. Yeah, perfect. So we do have one big question. So let me just check. So Malik says, I have starting my own startup on reproduct, going to do AI senses, supply chains and prediction, past focus in my own farm sensors. Okay, praise. Okay, so definitely Malik, so anything related to the AI, so you need an operations. Yep. So definitely, yes, data science is meant for that. Okay, so thank you so much, folks. I believe the session is awesome. I believe you enjoyed this valuable 2 hours, and along with that, the Q&A session. So thank you so much. This is all what we have for this live sessions. Please go ahead and sign up. Let me just share the registration links once again. Go ahead and copy that. So if you have further questions, feel free to reach out to me anytime with the number that I shared. Yep. That's all what we have. And let's meet in a live session. Thank you so much. Enjoy. Bye.